is up, fam? Welcome back. Tuesday nights on A2DRadio.com. We're coming at you with Birds of a Feather. Who's the rookie? I know who it was. It was the Pats.
Not I.
There.
Not I said the fly.
Jesus Christ.
First time out, buddy.
It is.
Kevin.
Oh, God.
Let's try this again, folks out there. Live streaming is what you get. Welcome to A2DRadio.com. Tuesday night, Birds of a Feather, coming at you live from all of our own personal Real Talk studios. Due to the obvious pandemic that's going on, the COVID-19 pandemic, but A2D does not stop. So we're here. We're ready to talk football. We're brought to you by our doctor, Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Vidal in Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton, New Jersey. You can find him on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Breaking news. We don't have the music this time. Kevin is a rookie.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're also brought to you by Ambuck Gutter Services. And you need gutter cleaning, gutter guards, deck installation, restoration, tree trimming, anything you guys need, you can check them out, ambuckservices.com. You check them out. You let them know Tom sent you right now, or A2D sent you. And right now they're offering 20% off. 20% off, guys, if you say, hey, my boys over at the Real Talk Studio sent me. So make sure you check them out, ambuckservices.com. Or playqb54.com poll question. It's the best tailgating game out there. QB54, we love it. Look, you're looking for something to do to keep yourself entertained over these next couple months. Weather's going to start getting nicer. Get online, playqb54.com. Check it out, purchase it. You'll have it for now. You'll have it for later. You'll have it for tailgates when there is a football season, guys. Check them out, playqb54.com. Topic of conversation. Rasul Douglas will be traded for a wide receiver. Agree, disagree. You have myself, Chuck's here. You have, or myself, Chuck's. I'm messing it. Bro, I was looking at Chuck's face when I said, I don't know. You got Chuck's over there, there. Kevin up there. Mr. Real, or the real Mr. Wheels over here. Mr. Pete Evans.
Mr. Smooth.
Mr. Smooth. Ready to come at you guys. We're ready to talk football, guys. On tap, we're going to talk about all the free agent signings. We're going to talk about the moves that the Eagles made, Will Parks and Jatavis Brown, as well as anything you guys want to talk about. So on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, please join the conversation. We want to see your comments pop up right around here-ish, and we want to talk to you guys. Guys, how are we tonight?
Can't complain, brother. Can't complain. Another day in paradise.
Yeah.
Quarantine paradise, that is.
Chuck's got. We're all quarantined, but Chuck's found a way to get a fresh cut. How does that happen?
I cut my own hair. I've been doing it for the past several months, for better or for worse.
Wow.
Definitely not for better.
But as I was telling, it's not that good. I'm not gonna say it's good. It's hard to find a good barber, and the only barber that I trust is Mary's cousin, Kai. But his barbershop is up in Central Jersey, so it's not like I can go there every 2 weeks. So I just cut my own hair, save money, and then whenever I can get it cut from him, we go and get it from him.
So Chuck's only trusts Kai. So because he only trusts Kai, instead of trusting giving even a shot to another professional,
I have.
Chuck's is going to put it in his own hands.
Yeah, because that way I save the $20-$25. So I save money.
You got a baby.
I'm going to start off money. I'm going to give it to him.
You got a baby boy on the way. Congratulations. So we can overlook it, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Kevin, welcome back. We haven't had you since
It
came down.
It is.
You got on? Where's the 12 jersey?
The 12 is put away. It is
special occasions.
Yeah, I retired the number 12.
Why?
Do what?
Why?
Because TB went down to TB. Tom Brady is no longer on the team, so I will retire it and bring it out at a later date. hopefully we get a replacement quarterback. Obviously, they have not done so to this point.
Wait a minute.
Jameis,
Wait.
Jameis, Jameis,
Wait a minute.
Jameis.
Wait a minute. Oh, excuse me. You have the greatest quarterback in the history of football.
That is
And because
correct.
you want to be a sourpuss, you're going to put the jersey away?
No, I actually just couldn't find it, if we're being honest. I looked for it.
No,
couldn't
I
find
saw the wheels turn, and you were looking for an excuse right there, buddy.
No. Was not. The only thing that's turning is Mr. Wheels over there.
Did
Trying
you
to
catch
send
any-
Jameis over here. Trying to
Hey,
send
man.
Jameis over here.
Oh, ooh.
Did you catch any of the presser today?
No, I did not.
Nobody caught any of it?
No.
Oh,
Did
it was
not.
pretty good. Pretty
I mean-
generic. It was pretty clear that Tom was ready to leave New England. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
From what I had read, apparently the Patriots did not make him an offer. They wanted him to do his thing first, and he felt it was time to look at other offers. And both Belichick and Kraft said, "Hey, we're here. We'll offer you and match and beat anything that anyone else gives you if you want to be here. But we don't want you to play half-hearted. We know that you still want to go out and win. So if you think that's someplace else, thank you for your time. We're not gonna, throw money just to make you stay and be unhappy." So
Didn't we tell you for months that the Patriots do not want him? No. Let me.
no. Belichick does not.
Belichick
Yeah.
does not want him.
Yeah.
Yep.
He hadn't wanted him for years. Well, let's not say that, but he knew the writing was on the wall.
I don't know, man. Like
He wanted Jimmy G as the successor.
2 years ago, he was ready for Jimmy G to step in then. So
Yeah.
getting into it. It's time to crack one open, boys. Let's dig in. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, what year was Jimmy G drafted? Because that was the year that Belichick was ready to move on.
That's
That's
pretty
a little
close.
soon.
Ooh.
So,
But when was he drafted?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I want to say 2015.
I'm thinking 15.
Looking it up.
Yeah, that's
Third
a
round,
little.
second round.
Let's see. That was the. Well, don't wait on me. I'm trying to find out.
Stat guy Chuck.
So while Chucks is looking that up, guys. I'm just reading the bottom line. While Chucks is looking that up, guys, we had a couple.
2014.
Okay.
14. Wow.
We had a couple of stories break in terms of signing. Obviously, Robbie Anderson has a new home in Carolina. Rashad Perriman has a new home.
Yes. Broke right before the show.
He's replacing Robbie Anderson in New York with the Jets. And there was another. Devin Funchess also has a new home.
Who cares?
Really?
He does. Devin
Easy one.
Funchess
Who cares?
has signed with the Packers.
Tight end.
Not a bad spot to go there for him
Tight end.
with Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
Tight end.
what'd you say?
No, Pete said tight end, and he's
Tight
right.
end.
He's a tight end.
He's a tight end.
A lot of different moves, guys. A lot of different things going on. The wide receiving free agent crop has
Really,
dwindled.
we're giving Jesse playing time or screen time.
Jesse wants to know if Howie is sleeping.
He's more awake than Jerry.
That's true.
Boys.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before we'll get into all those guys, let's talk about the moves that the Eagles made first. Obviously, they go out and they get Jatavis Brown. How do you guys feel about that signing? I'm very high on this signing, by the way.
If he can give us what he did in 17 and 18 as far as his tackle and his production, I mean, it could be a cheap Nigel Bradham version 2 or part 2, however you want to pronounce it. $675,000, very minimal contract, and this really fell out of favor in the rotation in LA last year with the Chargers. So it could definitely be a low risk, high reward payoff for the Eagles.
I mean, he had 92 tackles just 2 years ago.
Yes, I mean, definitely he's productive. I'm not sure. It looks like last year was his first year of not really being durable. But that was also coupled with the fact that by that time, him missing games and just not gonna be able to get back in the rotation for whatever reason. Still younger. I think he was a 2016 fourth round pick out of Akron,
You are
if I'm
correct.
not mistaken.
You are correct.
So out of that, I mean, I like that move. I like the Will Parks move as well. It's kind of sneaky depth. It's kind of almost Nigel Bradham, Patrick Robinson-esque, and we'll see what they pay off. But at the end of the day, we still need a wide receiver, hopefully before the draft starts in 4 weeks. So, yeah.
Chucks?
So with those two signings, I mean, I thought they were solid signings. I didn't know much about the Jatavis Brown, about the Jatavis Brown. I had to look up some information on him, and like you said, 92 tackles 2 years ago. Apparently, the Chargers were high on him. They liked his youth, but last year he kind of fell out of favor. He didn't pan out. I forget the reasons why. I was listening to Adam Kaplan talk about it on the Inside the Birds podcast. But I mean, like Pete said, it could turn out to be like a low risk, decent upside signing where he could develop here. He's got, from what I understand, he has speed. He's a shorter linebacker that has good range, good coverage. But he's limited because he doesn't have the length, and his tackling prowess isn't that great. But I mean, with what we have at linebacker, this is the type of signing that I anticipated. A low cost, low key, a name that was just going to kind of be a flyer. So that's how they look at the linebacker position. I didn't think they were going to sign high name guys. So that was good. And then with Parks, talking about a guy who's versatile. He's limited athletically from what I've seen, but he's versatile. He's played both safety positions and in the slot. He's a hometown kid, and he's going to be that third safety. And he has some upside, so it's a decent signing. I like both of them. It adds depth on the defense that we need. It fills in holes to an extent where now we're not reaching or in dire need come draft time, for a safety or a linebacker. We still need them, but it's not like we have a glaring hole where there's no starter or no depth at all. At linebacker, you can still argue that, yeah, we still need some pieces, but at least now we have two guys we brought in that could eventually be something. So they're decent signings, and then I'm interested to see what they move forward or do going forward. The one thing that I want to note about Will Parks and why it's so intriguing is because, per Adam Kaplan, a big priority this offseason for the whole for the coach, for the front office, has been to drastically change the defense because Schwartz has argued that he doesn't have the talent. So now he wants to be able to get that talent. And now that we traded for Slay, and we signed those guys, and we have Mills, who's going to be a hybrid corner/safety. We talked about it last week. He's going to be able to be more creative. So you're going to see a lot of overlap with Mills's responsibilities, with Parks' responsibilities, and with the lack of linebackers that we have. Don't be surprised to see a lot of sub packages, and continue to see a lot of sub packages. 3 safety sets. Not a lot of linebackers. One or two linebacker sets. On the field. So that's the direction they want to go, and Schwartz wants to be more creative. And so I'm interested to see how he does, because I've been very hard on Schwartz, and if he really wants the talent, then we're giving it to him. Now he's got to come up on his end and coach better. He's got to be more creative.
Kevin?
Yeah, for me, I think that two good depth moves. I think they were moves that I kind of expected out of them to make, only because of how many holes there were within the team as a whole. So now it kind of allows you, kind of like what Chuck says, to not be. You don't need to use every draft as many, yes, as far as depth goes, music moves, as far as how they play out, the system productivity like to see, but on paper, good innings so far.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like the moves a lot. Again, I mean, I'm looking at the productivity. I look at Jatavis Brown, and then I compare him to a Kamukru J. Hill, and the numbers aren't even close. Overall, with the exception of last year with the injury issues and kind of falling out of the rotation a little bit, numbers aren't even close. It's an upgrade over a guy you lost. To me, that makes your team better one way or the other. I've always liked Will Parks. I think that I do like his versatility. I think it's a great depth signing. And kind of to what Chucks was touching on was where I was going to go is, Schwartz has said he has had limited ability personnel-wise to continue to kind of tinker with the defense. So he's been rolling out kind of the same guys over the last couple of years and not been able, to be creative and tinker the way that he wants to. But I feel like these guys are kind of his kind of guys. And we've seen him maximize guys who have come off of similar years or out of similar situations like this. I think he knows his personnel. I think he knows the type of guys that'll fit in his scheme. I like both of these guys a lot. I think Jatavis Brown is going to surprise a lot of people, much like when we signed Rodney McLeod and we went out and signed Nigel Bradham. They were guys who people didn't know a whole lot about, but when you started deep diving into the numbers and you kind of saw, where they fit, you saw the production that we've gotten out of those guys. I mean, hell, one of them's still here in Rodney. So, and I'm not ruling out that Nigel won't be back yet either. If there's no market there for him, I see no reason why they can't bring him back on a lesser contract. So, I'm not ruling him out of the equation either. I didn't expect the Eagles to come into this offseason spending a ton of money on the top free agents. To me, they managed to figure that out and do that by going out and getting a Darius Slay and extending him. You got your big name. I think at this point we have to, whether we want to or not, we have to trust in the draft process. I think they're leaving money open so that they can, build within the draft and then be able to work in a couple of years beyond this. I mean, I don't think they need to go be up against the cap every year to be able to compete. And I think they're proving that this year. So I was very happy with the signs. And I was no different than everybody. Who the hell is Jatavis Brown? But again, it took me 5 minutes to look up his numbers. Oh, we lost somebody.
We lost Kev.
It took me 5 minutes to look up his numbers and realize that this guy is a fit. Brodo will take care of him. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I like the signings, guys. I think that they worked very well. And, let's see what they do with the draft. Let's see what other depth moves they make. I'm not expecting a sexy name. To the poll question, I don't know that they're going to use Rasul at this point to go out and trade for a wide receiver. I would say as of now, no. I disagree.
Well, I'm not sure from a standpoint if they could, but they should. And we're almost now to the point where
they should. I agree with you, Pete.
Well, no, not from that aspect of where he plays into Jim Schwartz's defense and the plans of moving forward, but just looking what's out there now as far as where the free agents are at the wide receiver class. And you're going into the draft, and we kind of chimed in about it in our WhatsApp chat between everybody on the platform, is you're kind of pigeonholing yourself into a corner to where we said a lot of the things with Howard, you don't really see him making a move that no one sees coming. But now everybody can see this coming now where you needing wide receiver help to the point where I understand that the San Francisco 49ers, they traded an asset at DeForest Buckner to get the 13th overall pick, but they also needed wide receiver help as well. We've heard them linked to OBJ in numerous off seasons prior past. So when you look at that, and now with Rasul, we've all been hearing the rumors that there's been some teams interested in him, like Denver, like San Fran, and Chucks has kind of hinted at this for a while, just to give him his props where it's at, where it's due. He said it maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. One of the trades that he could see. Welcome back, Kev. One of the trades that he could see the Eagles potentially making is going ahead and trading Rasul, who the San Fran needs corner help, and Rasul is young enough to be able to still be molded under his rookie deal. Physical corner, 6'1", to trade him straight up for Dante Pettis. And I'm looking here, I was just looking at the stats. Dante Pettis was drafted in the second round, number 12 pick in the second round back in 2016. 2018, I'm sorry. Wow, he's only been in the league two years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. His comp coming out was TJ Houshmandzadeh. So, I mean, that'll give you something. And in that way, even if you can't get one of your big three come the first round of the draft, if you settle on Mims or you settle on Jefferson and possibly trade back, because I'm telling you right now, who did Kyle Shanahan have in Atlanta? He had Julio. Who was Jerry Jeudy comp to? Julio. He knows what it's like to have a player of that caliber. So I don't want to go right now with our current wide receiver group before the draft. I want to definitely get somebody before the draft, and I'm not sold on Pettis. I really wasn't feeling them, but I feel like at this point, you have to. At this point, am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're not wrong. And I've been saying it, and like you said, I've been on it for weeks. I mentioned it even months ago. Pettis, looking back on it, Chrome, I think you would remember. I brought up Pettis years ago when we still had what's his name, Paulie, on here, and we were talking about the draft. In our first year on the show, I said Pettis was my guy, my favorite wide receiver in that draft, and even now, like, the reason why I'm targeting Pettis is because he's expendable. You mean the Niners just signed Travis Benjamin? They've got a whole lot of guys on there, and with that 13th pick, they are projected to draft another receiver. It could very well be Jerry Jeudy. I don't see Jeudy getting past
Oh, we got another one. Man down.
Frozen Angel.
Look at that face too. That frozen.
All right, so Kev, we were chime in here with the poll question, and if you see the Eagles being able to Rasul Douglas for a wide receiver, that's where we kind of left off at when you got kicked out or you left. We don't know what you did, but
yeah, I don't. I disagree. I don't think they're going to move him, and especially for a receiver, I think the plan is to go out and draft your speed. And I think for me, they're going to sign a bigger bodied receiver to help out underneath, being that you'll probably be more rotational as far as what you run, 12 or 21 personnel. I think you need another receiver to lean on in that. For me, that guy is Chris Hogan. I'm pretty high on. Very Edelman-esque, like big body, like a tight end, but has that quick break speed to run the 10 to 15 in route type stuff. That for me is the perfect fit, because if you guys already have Deshaun, who's going to be a burner, and you're already planning to draft speed replacement on the other side to take Deshaun's spot, either A, when he's no longer on the team in a couple of years, or B, when he's hurt again, you're going to need that underneath spot. I don't think you're going to go out and get three speedy guys, have three speedy guys in general. So to the poll, I disagree. I don't think you're going to trade Rasul, because I think you're going to pick that guy up in free agency.
Baby boy's back.
I'm back. Sorry. Where I left off. But anyway, I don't know where I left off, but I'm just going to finish it by saying,
you said that Perriman was your guy in the draft.
Cool. No, Pettis.
I'm sorry, Pettis.
Pettis was the guy in my draft. And, with his scenario in San Fran, he's just expendable. You're talking about a guy who is going to be, like, the Niners are going to draft a wide receiver most likely at 13. And it could be Jerry Jeudy. So you're going to have Jeudy on the outside with Deebo Samuel, and then they like Jalen Hurd. They like Trent Taylor. They have a whole bunch of guys that they like, and Pettis needs a change of scenery. He's expendable. So if they don't need him in San Fran and we don't need Rasul, it makes sense for both sides, and it makes sense for both players. And so I know that Rasul is not, he's not good. He hasn't been good here, but people need to also realize there are traits about Rasul. He's strong, he's physical, he's tall, and he has ball skills that appeal to a defense like San Fran's. They have a guy who has that similar type of game in Richard Sherman, who doesn't have great speed or athleticism, but he has length, he has ball skills. And so if they want to bring in Rasul to kind of have Sherman groom him, or they think he can be that same mold of player, they're gonna send someone that they don't need, aka Pettis, for a corner that they can maybe turn into something. It's low risk for both sides, So I think that with Pettis, low risk trade, and it would be high upside because I love this guy. I love his route running ability. He's great in all levels of the field. And if you bring him in, I feel 100% better about not being able to get Perriman or any of the other guys. And when it comes to signing a free agent, I know we all want, and I agree. I think it's wise to at least sign one free agent veteran wide receiver to the team as insurance and depth. But just don't be surprised if it doesn't happen. I really feel like it's leaning toward Howie drafting at least 2 wide receivers and then maybe signing a free agent after the draft, depending on who's available and what they were able to bring in. So I know we all want that wide receiver before the draft. I just wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't happen at this point.
And then just to speak on that real quick is what the trade that we're talking about with the poll question, fam. That can still happen. The draft could take place, and that trade can still happen because it is player for player. And actually, that may be better because you kind of see what you may have to take place. So let's be honest. We're already sitting here saying before the draft even happens that Pettis is expendable. So let's say they go at 13 and they drafted Judy or they drafted Ruggs, then he really becomes expendable at that point.
Absolutely.
So you still can have that trade happen. I mean, I know for us as a fan base, it all makes us kind of uneasy. I mean, to be honest, the reason why I want the trade to happen before the draft is because if you could bring somebody like Pettis in, okay, that gives you Pettis and Deshaun. So then, and me and TA's been preaching this, and I know we're starting to kind of lean the other way with the trade back. But then so you have it now. You have your 2 out of your starting 3 that you will want in that core group when it's Jackson and Pettis. So that makes teams think, okay, maybe you're not going to move up. Maybe, but also at the same time, Howie can say, you know what? All right, to really solidify this thing, I'm pushing my chips all in. And like you said, though, Chucks, it's like we can't complain at that point if he does go all in and move up to go get a Ruggs or a Judy or a Lamb. Let's not complain about the picks that we don't have in the future. But for a player such as these calibers, and you've seen it happen with the free agent class so far with these wide receivers, the price is dropping because everybody's set on a wide receiver draft class this year. So with that being said, I mean, it can go either way. It really can go either way.
Guys, let me hit the chat here because the chat's been flying. All right. Jeff Lomayer, Rasul is definitely the odd man out in the defensive backfield. Might get moved for a late round pick before the draft. Could you see that as a possibility if you disagree? I could.
I mean, at that point, a late round pick. I mean, he has a decent cap hit this year too. I think it's a couple million. So that's another reason why they're looking to move on from him because I don't think he's playing a long term. He's in their long term plan. So, I mean, at that point, you're just moving him to move him.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if it gets to a point, would you move him and a 6 to ensure you get Pettis?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
See, I see the latter. I see them trading him straight up for draft capital versus trading him and a pick for somebody. I think that they're going to go in on the draft to move up, so they'll trade him to get something back to get somebody later round.
Okay.
Tom says the real Mr. Wheels with a laughing emoji. Ralphie says trash ass Pats or trash because he can't type. Tom laughs at you for retiring the jersey. Andy says, so I have a question for you all. This is a long one, so bear with me. He says, first, you need to think your absolute favorite player. Then I need you to put yourself in the scenario of that player being traded to another team. Do you start rooting for the other team, or do you just root for the player? And if you do root for the other team, does it make you feel like a bad fan? We talked about at work today with the Pats Brady fan. What your thoughts on it? If I'm not making sense, let me know. I could actually answer this. I, as an NBA fan, became an NBA fan because of Shaq in '92. And I basically I was a fan of whatever team Shaq played for, including the Lakers early, up until my first NBA game I went to in '97 when I saw Allen Iverson play in person the first time against Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. Shaq was hurt at that point. He was out. I, that night, left and I told my parents, I want Sixers stuff. I'm going to be a Sixers fan. But I still followed Shaq. I still rooted when the Sixers didn't play. I rooted for Shaq. There's nothing wrong. If it's on bad terms, I don't mean Brady's not out on bad terms. You know, I will always root for my favorite player until they give me a reason not to root for them, like they're a douche. But to me, there's nothing wrong. I don't think you should give up your allegiance to your team, you know, unless I know people who follow a sport and they watch it as much as anybody who has a singular team, but they root for players and they don't root for teams. And I find nothing wrong with that. If you appreciate the sport, but you don't want to have an allegiance to a team, if you're a James Harden fan, or in football, if you're, I'm trying to think of somebody that's moved. If you're an Odell Beckham Jr. fan, you want to be a fan of the Giants, and then you went over to the Browns, but you're not really like aligned to a team, I think it's fine. If you have an allegiance to a team and that's your team, it's suspect to me then. You should feel a little bit crummy.
Yeah,
I can honestly say I was a fan of a player when I started following the NBA. I was never really a fan of a team until I went to my first game and became a Sixers fan as a first time. So I never felt bad about liking the Magic and then liking the Lakers. And then after that, I never felt bad about not liking the Lakers anymore and just rooting for them when it wasn't the Sixers.
Right.
So for me, it's interesting because this is actually not the first time a player I've liked has either been traded or not played on the Patriots. Jimmy G is a big one that we've brought up in the past. Chris Long, now Brady. Do I root for them? Not necessarily. I'm not gonna. I still like that player. Like I want to see Brady and Jimmy G do well. But I'm a Patriots fan. That's end all be all. That's my team. If it came down to it, I was talking to a couple of the members of the KFC the other day. If it comes down to it, if it comes down to Tampa Bay with those weapons against the Patriots in the Super Bowl, I'm happy for Brady. But I don't want to see him get that ring over us. If there's other players, I'm never gonna. Just because a player is no longer wearing my jersey doesn't mean I want them to do poorly and not succeed, because that would be selfish of me. I watch it for the love of the sport as well as the love for my team. So it's actually 3. So
3 because he's one of them.
Yeah. Yes, I got to be the president. But so to answer Andy's question, yes, I will still root for that player, but no, I will not switch teams because that player is no longer on my team.
I was waiting for like a big reveal, Kevin. You're going to be like, actually, speaking of it, just like pull that down and have like another team or have like a Tampa Bay blanket back there. I was waiting for it. That was your moment.
No, see, so, we talked about this before about different jerseys. I have a couple of football jerseys that aren't Patriots for that reason. I have a Wes Welker Broncos jersey, and things of that nature, but it's not, because I'm a fan of the Broncos, because I like the guy, as a person and as a former player of the Patriots. So, like I said earlier, I do like to see them, play, but I'm not going to root for that team.
Member of the KFC, Eileen Pompey says, yes, repping the Pats big time in the house, baby.
Of course.
Man.
To answer Andy's question, I was kind of similar to you, Chrome, but mine was MJ.
Who didn't love MJ when we were kids?
Yeah, but I got into basketball because of MJ. The sneakers and everything else came with it. Second 3P, I'm all in. And it wasn't until 2001 season when the Sixers made the finals that I really kind of went all in for the Sixers, and I've been a Sixers fan, diehard ever since. And actually kind of worked out a little bit better that way because I actually understand the game more on the court, off the court. And I think a fan could be more appreciative now the innocence of it, of being a young kid and just being all in. But at that time, I mean, the Sixers were putting out Hershey Hawkins and was it Johnny Dawkins, and like it was Charles Barkley and the scrums out there. You know what I mean? Clarence Weatherspoon.
My first Sixers game I went to, and this is how you know I'm a real fan. Okay, I didn't become a fan of this championship. The first team I followed was Eric Montross, Doug Overton, Mark Davis. I think Anthony Parker and Tim Thomas were rookies then. Derek Coleman, Clarence Weatherspoon, Jerry Stackhouse, Jim Jackson was on that team. What was that friggin' pitcher's name? The guy who was an NBA player, Eric Hendrickson or something like that? Hendricks?
I think it was something similar to that.
He was on the team. That's the team I started following when Eric Montross was the starting center. So weird things can happen. Allen Iverson made me a fan. I'm with you. You know, you kind of just sit back and you start watching and learning, and you follow the same team over and over, and you get engulfed with it. But I mean, I was a Jordan guy as a kid before I became an NBA fan. I knew Jordan was. I had watched games, but a legit NBA fan when Shaq got drafted. That was it. That's when I started watching games regularly. Right. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when we were kids, I don't even think Chuck's is even a baseball fan, but who didn't like Ken Griffey Jr. as a kid in our generation?
Oh, I know who he was.
All of us were Mariners fans. I was almost as much of a Mariners fan as a Cardinals fan, and only because of Ken Griffey Jr. And I mean, Jay Buhner and Edgar Martinez were pretty awesome. But I mean, Griffey was that guy. He was that GOAT. He would have been that GOAT if he never got hurt. You know what I mean? He was like our generation's Willie Mays. And it's okay to like those guys. It's okay to support them and root for them.
Right.
So, good question, Andy. That was a good question. I'm shocked that came from him. Honestly. That was like a
subtle shot. Right? A subtle shot.
Jeff Lomayer also says Howie sleeps and still puts a better product on the field than Jerry. Actually matter. Trevor Harris says, "Yo, Kevin Godwin, should the Patriots make a move for Matt Stafford?"
No, I don't think so. He's the prototypical type of quarterback that I like, and I would want to see.
Did you say prototypical?
Prototypical.
Prototypical.
It was a stronger arm, bigger quarterback. That what usually works well in what the Patriots have and put out there. But no, I wouldn't want Stafford in here. To me, he's past his curve. Maybe 3-4 years ago, maybe, but at this point, no. I think he's too far gone for what the Patriots are doing.
And if you're just joining us, this is Birds of a Feather live on a2dradio.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Guys, chime in, join the conversation. We want to put your questions up here. Like Jake Wood 777 over here on Twitter saying, Pats fan, what's up? What's up, Jake? Got your Pats. That's right under the Pats fan, too. Isn't that sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan Brodo says, I warned you, Kevin. TB and TB. Brodo said that right away, day one.
From the jump.
He was on that before Tampa Bay was even rumored.
He said it.
But yeah, guys, get your comments in, your questions, whether it's free agency talk or anything football you want to talk about. That was a great question by Andy. Love to hear about it, guys. The other one we had over here, Arthur says, so the Patriots guy looks like he lost something.
Wow.
Poor guy. Nothing?
Nothing.
No comeback?
No comeback.
He's hurt.
Jesse Nichols, resident Cowboys crumb, who climbs out of I don't even know why he's coming out of the basement right now. He hasn't done shit. But he says, at least you guys still have Alshon. Ralph Delvecchio says, Corey Davis, anyone?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm a Corey Davis guy. I think that's a change of scenery for him.
Yep.
Would be huge. I would love to see what he could do with Carson.
Yep.
I
I would
go
wanna
with
s-
that.
I
All
said I
around
wanted to
receiver.
see him in New England, but we're not spending any money right now. So
Because
we
you have
got,
no, you
We'll
have
tank
no,
him for Trevor.
we have some.
you have what, like $5 million?
No, I think it's more than that.
Yeah, but you gotta consider the rookie payouts. I think after that you think you around $5 million.
Isn't your cap? You have a lot of money coming off the cap after this year, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
next year
Like
if
you guys are
the
gonna have like. Did I read right? Like
100.
100 million?
yeah over
100,
yeah
Yep.
Holy shit!
Yep.
Yeah, they have a
Belichick's
lot
gonna reload.
after
We
this
build-
year.
really building a new dynasty next year.
that's
Well,
why I
real-
said Deshaun Watson next year.
Wow.
Oh,
Real
we
You
know.
don't like running quarterbacks. Stop.
We know,
Stop flip flopping.
I'm not flip flopping.
You're
But
flip
if he's
flopping.
there,
You're flip flopping. You
There's
go for
nobody
weeks
else.
saying I don't like running quarterbacks. I don't, they have to
We're-
throw. And then
we're
you're
not
gonna
gonna
say, "Oh,
be,
we're gonna get Deshaun Watson."
we're not going to do bad enough to go up and get the first overall pick next year. So that's out of the question. And there's no one else that's coming up in free agency that's as good to that level. I'll take the best available, even if he does run.
You'll draft from.
That doesn't mean he'll start. Look at Jimmy G. We drafted a so-called replacement. Never even played.
Josh Rosen, baby.
If it was Belichick's way, you would still be there. But real quick, to answer Jesse Rames Nichols, the Cowboys fan. Yeah, we still have Alshon, but at least we don't have prime players under the age of 30 retiring. So go somewhere with that
Yeah.
BS.
He don't know. He don't know what's going on. He's too busy hopping in Eagles groups
Nope.
trying to troll. He's not
Yeah,
a real.
definitely.
He's not
Yeah,
a
he's-
Cowboys fan. He's a
Yeah.
fan of trolling the Eagles. That's what he is.
Exactly.
There's the differentiation. Okay, I respect Cowboys fans. I don't respect people who just don't like the Eagles. That's
Yeah.
basically what they are. And it's not that you don't like the Eagles. It's that you claim to be a fan of something, but you talk more about the Eagles than you do your own football team.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He just took Jesse to Suplex City.
Yes. I know Eileen asked how my wife is feeling with her pregnancy. She's doing good, Eileen. Thank you very much. She still has, it's her second trimester. She still has some like nausea here and there, but overall, her and the baby are doing well. Thank you.
And happy to report that baby Westy Chrome Moranin will be coming around in no time. She'll warm up to the name. Over here we got Mr. Arnone says he thinks that's definitely a Howie linebacker signing. He also says we've learned Chucks loves Adam. I don't know where that one was.
Adam Kaplan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arthur Swansbrough says, or Swansbrough, if I mispronounce, I apologize. Says shouldn't be hard on Schwartz. Always puts a good defense on the field in a couple of years after he's been somewhere. I mean, he's put the good defenses on the field at this point. That's right. Don't forget, Chucks, I deliver.
You deliver. Down the street delivery.
Hashtag Chrome still delivers.
Ralphie's talking shit and says Pete's got no wheels.
Oh man, I can't wait.
We'll find out.
I cannot wait.
Tom says Douglas stinks. Nobody wants him.
Don't say that, Tom. They may be on your Facebook. Don't diminish the asset yet.
Don't let that get out. You don't want people to know.
Palatero Pinga says we don't have a veteran wide receiver. Arthur also said, "Oh, what do we got?"
You don't have a veteran wide receiver.
I'm excited about Hargrave and Slay. Can't wait.
Wait, isn't D-Jax a veteran wide receiver?
Yeah, but an all-around wide receiver. We talked about this. The route tree of what your wide receiver core is. We don't have that with the veteran.
Oh yeah, I know.
The
question was, the statement was that we don't have a veteran wide receiver. That's false. We have D-Jax.
Now, so as far as
and we technically still have Alshon.
Technically, yes. That is true. Technically, yes.
So he's not here. He's a veteran wide receiver that's won a Super Bowl.
So, question for you guys: as far as what's going to happen with Whiteside, can you see him being packaged to move up for a receiver in the draft?
No.
I mean, they tried him in 6 different slots last year and they couldn't use him. So
That's also his
why
rookie
not?
year. That's also his rookie year.
I mean,
And plus, he'd have no value.
Yeah, Douglas has more value than he does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He has no value.
Yeah, they've invested too high of a pick in on this guy to basically give up on him after a year to get peanuts. They'll give him another shot this year, maybe 2 years, and see what they have. Over here, Arthur wants to know Jackson who trade him to get AJ Green. I don't know.
What?
I don't understand that. Tom's saying sell the farm, sell the goddamn farm. Talking about for Jerry Judy.
Oh, so
I mean,
here's the thing. I know a lot of Tom and other people have been talking about us trading up. I know Ralphie's big on trading up. Before the trade for Slay, I was all about trading up. But after that trade for Slay, we already gave up 2 picks this year. That brings our number of picks down to 8. We don't really have that type of ammunition now, the luxury to trade up. Because if you're trading up all the way to get one of the top 3 guys, let's say Judy, who I don't think is going to last past 13. If we're talking about 13 and up, that's a lot of things we're talking about. A lot of picks, a lot of draft assets we have to use to get up there. So if we trade, say, like 3 picks and move up, that leaves our pick total down to what, 5 or 6? So if you're saying to trade up and get that guy, but we still have all these holes, well, then you can't complain when we only have 5 or 6 picks left in the draft and we can't fill all the needs we have on the roster and build with youth like how he has wanted to. You can't have it both ways. So after that Slay trade, I'm more of the mindset to think that it's better to trade back than trade up because you accumulate more picks. And then if those 3 wide receivers don't fall to you at 21 or don't get to like 18 or 19 where the trade up wouldn't be that much, then you can still get a stud wide receiver. I think that people see like the top 3 and say, oh, those are the only guys that can be great or that can be elite. That's not true. This wide receiver class is stacked. It's absolutely stacked. And even though those top 3 are on a different level and are practically sure things, there are still a number of guys that can be elite wide receivers, that can be studs and be really great in the NFL. And so it makes no sense to try to give up everything for one of them where you still need a lot of holes and you can still fill the need at wide receiver and you can draft 2 or 3 guys at wide receiver, with a guy like, if I had to make my pick, I would love KJ Hamler. You guys know that. I would also love Devin Duvernay in the 3rd or 4th round. I just did a video on him. He's a slot guy who's he kind of reminds me in a way of a deep threat version of Golden Tate because he's thickly built. He runs like a running back, very physical. He's not like elusive or quick, but he has great vertical speed and he's strong. He's physical, great hands. So you're talking about someone like that in the end of the 3rd or beginning of the 4th round. And then you pair him with a wide receiver you draft early on, like the end of the 1st or in the 2nd round. That's going to be a great haul right there. You don't need to trade up to get Judy or Lamb or Ruggs in order to get a great wide receiver in this draft. So that's where I'm at. Like I'm no longer in the camp of trading up. I think it's better, if anything, to trade back.
Well, just to give you an opposite side to that coin, and I agree with you in that. If you're looking at this draft, if you have that 1 year window, but sometimes we forget that. I understand we have now 8 picks left, but if you swap with Jacksonville at 9, which may be a sweet spot for you, and they're already in rebuilding mode, and you give up your 1 next year, and maybe you give up your 2 next year, you give them a 3 this year. I mean, that's enticing. So you don't necessarily have to sell the farm for this year 2020 draft. And if they're looking at it also because, yes, we have these 3 studs here, but let's look at next year. Who's going to be the top stud wide receiver next year? And that's Jamar Chase coming out of LSU. Now, because we have to look at these things as the organizations do, they look 2-3 years down the road and what's coming out as far as the draft class when it looks at the wide receiver. So if you look at it this year with these three, if Howie's willing to move on from picks of next year's draft, that may still be a possibility where he could trade up. But if he's looking at like I need to fill as many holes with young talent in this year's draft as I can with these picks, then I can see him trading back. So it really depends on how he sees it and how the board plays out. But like we just said, I saw Brodo on the Facebook chat. He says, just jokingly, he's like, we may have to trade up for Justin Jefferson at this point, which may be true depending on how the board plays out.
No, who cares about Justin Jefferson in the first round? I wouldn't like Justin Jefferson in the first round. Like I see what you're saying, and like if you're talking about trading draft capital for next year, then I'm all for it. Like, but I don't. At the same time, I don't see the Jaguars or a team being all sold on acquiring next year's draft picks when they know that the draft this year is stacked at wide receiver and corner. So, like with what you said about looking down the line. It's always very tricky to do that. I know you got to have like a distant eye on the draft and how it's going to play out for next year, but you also can't predict. You play a dangerous game when you try to predict who's going to come out in the next year's draft. Like no one knew. Like this time last year, no one expected Joe Burrow to be the number 1 overall pick. No one did. Like so, and everyone was high on Tua. Right now, everyone's high on probably Trevor Lawrence to be the number 1 pick. What if he breaks his ankle? What if something happens? So you don't know. You play a dangerous game when you try to project. Oh, this guy's going to be the top of the class for next year. That's a very tricky game, and so you can't be like, oh, we'll trade all our picks this year and then we'll stockpile for next year because of this player or this player. That's too tricky. That's too risky. So, but to your point, if Howie can trade next year's picks and then maybe 1 pick this year to move up, then that's a different story. I agree with you there. I think that's a good middle, and I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. But at the same time, it takes 2 to tango, and who's to say that the other team would be willing to do that?
Yeah, for me, I agree with Chucks. I think that the way to go is if at this point, unless you either A, make moves in free agency before the draft to fill up some of the holes, or B, plan to make a splash after the draft once you see what everyone else's team needs are going to be. That I brought it up before, is I think you trade out of 21 and get back a second and a third and get out of the first altogether. Because for me, if those 3 guys that you're targeting as far as, CeeDee Lamb, Ruggs, and Judy aren't there, if you can't go up and get them, to me, the difference between 21 and, say, early second, where you go back to as far as wide receivers go, isn't going to be that great of a drop-off to where you can get that same player or type of player still and an additional third if you go back.
Good shit. That was a good combo, boys. I like it. We got
Tom
a little,
wanted you guys to know that Pettis and Hogan, he's throwing up all over his house, by the way.
All right. Because Tom doesn't know who he is. That's why. So it's because Tom doesn't know who Pettis is.
Ooh. We starting to fire shots now?
Shots fired.
I mean, I can see
Starboard side.
Here, be careful. Dad might jump on the stream.
Okay. I hope he does.
Let's uh-oh.
Let's
get some more comments up here. Let's pop some more comments up on the screen.
Do it.
Ralphie says, what's it going to take to get to 11?
The whole draft.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot. So
Mr. Brodo says, my point is that you might have to trade up to get someone who was originally projected to be there at 21. He believes there's a good chance 4 to 5 wide receivers are taken by 21.
And that's fine. There are still more wide receivers that are really talented past the top 4 to 5.
But if you take 4 to 5, that means Jefferson and Mims are going in the first round too.
Not necessarily. I've heard a lot about Jalen Reagor. A lot of he's running. The word is that he's running around 4.3s again because he dropped the weight that he had at the combine, so he's back to running around 4.3s. And if his stock is up enough, if teams like that, they like what they see, he could go in the end of the first round. You know, he's someone that I would like to see in Philly too. But you get these names, and there's still a lot of other names that would drop in the second round.
Nicholas John Parks asks our thoughts on Cam Newton's release and potential landing spots. I'm sticking with my pick. I think he ends up in Miami. I really do.
Really?
I really believe that's going to be that's a good spot for him to land. I just have a weird gut feeling that he ends up in Miami. Am I like incredibly shocked by his release? Probably not. But I'm surprised that they couldn't find a taker to trade for him, even if it was like a 7th round pick.
Well, what does that speak to Washington when they gave up a 5th for Kyle Allen? They probably didn't think they can give up a 5th for Cam.
It shows that a lot of people think he has a lot to prove still. He's been less than durable. I mean, he's not that far removed from an MVP caliber, an MVP season. It shows he's got a lot to come back and prove. I don't know. I got a gut feeling. I'm saying Miami.
I think it could have also been a locker room presence issue too, with the Redskins going out for Allen versus Cam. You know, I don't think he ends up in Washington. By the way, I'm hearing people constantly say that because of the Rivera connection. I don't see that organization making the commitment that they made to Haskins last season, getting rid of the head coach, making an about face that quickly for a guy who nobody is willing to trade for, who has a lot to prove and who is on the back end of his career, would shock me. That team has nothing to play for to take a shot in terms of taking a shot at we may not believe in Haskins, but to me, you have to play Haskins at this point. You have to see what you have over the next, 1 or 2 or 3 years with Haskins, other than going out and taking a shot just because you have a familiarity with Cam Newton. Cam Newton's not going to make them an NFC East contender. He's just not. No. And that's where the difference comes in. I don't see him ending up there. I can see him going to Miami. I mean, they have the GOAT already, but maybe they want to just have a little insurance policy and have Fitzmagic backed up by Cam.
KFC, a member of your fan club, does not want Cam going to the Patriots. I can tell you that.
Neither do I. That was one spot that has been rumored. I think they're going to go a much different route. With that being said, Cam has burnt them in the past, and Belichick is known to go after guys that have beaten him and he can't figure out. But it's not a Patriot move to do that. They don't run a West Coast type very spread offense to allow a quarterback to run around back there. I don't think that's I don't think it's going to happen. Nor do I want it to.
Who do you think your quarterback's going to be?
As of right now, it seems like they're going to start Stidham and have Hoyer back him up and probably draft Fromm to take the reins in 2 to 3 years. If not, making a bigger splash with, like I said earlier, going out and getting next year's free agent in Watson.
Man, Billy O'Brien is not that dumb enough to let Watson leave. That'd be.
But I mean,
before Watson goes.
Yeah, exactly.
But now, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, have we ever seen an MVP like this in Cam's instance, where it just came out and did we hear rumblings about this back during the season? Where I know when Kyle Allen, that's going to have him come back, but for him just to get released like that, I mean, he's been in the league 9 years. I think he's maybe 30, 31 at the most. I mean, he's a good athlete, keeps himself in shape, but I mean, he does take a lot of hits. So it's just shocking to me that he to go from not being able to get traded to just to get released. But this goes to show when, especially with the NFL and any business, when you have an asset that you're not sold on and you're trying to pawn that asset off to garner another asset, when the party you're trying to trade with knows that asset has no value. So the league really forced the Panthers' hand.
Brodo says, yes,
It is.
Pete, this most recent injury was the final straw.
Absolutely. And I think I was shocked too that they just released him, but I can understand it. I totally understand where they're coming from. With Cam, and I've said this for years, Chrome, I have, and I've been consistent. Cam is a great talent when he's on fire. When he's on his game, he's as good as any quarterback in the league. But the thing is, he's so up and down. When he gets like into a funk, things just get worse and worse for him, and it's hard for him to battle out of those funks. He's a hot and streaky quarterback, and he's a strong arm quarterback who's athletic. He's big. He's an athletic freak for a quarterback, but he's also not the most accurate. So you talk about that, and then what I've said for years is the way that Cam runs. He's not like a Michael Vick, or he's not like Lamar Jackson, where he's speedy and elusive and he'll avoid hits. He punishes defenders with contact and physicality, but as a quarterback, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a quarterback, a running back, offensive lineman. If you're a player, those amount of hits over time take their toll. And Cam, I've always been one to say that Cam is the type of player who is going to have a good career for a certain period of time, but then once he hits that part of his career, that age where that one injury hits him, it's going to fall off, and he's going to have a hard time staying healthy. And so I think this is that part of his career that we're potentially looking at, and I think teams are aware of that. They're leery of signing on and committing to him and even trading assets for him when they know that the Panthers were in a bind with him, so they just waited it out. And two, it's very tricky to invest into someone like that plays the quarterback position that way. Now, where do I think he'll end up? I think he'll end up with the Chargers. I think that fits him, like the LA kind of vibe that fits his personality. They are a win now team. They have pieces, so the fit is right. But it's hard to really look around. I was trying to look around and find teams that fit for Cam, and I can't find many. I mean, Miami, I can see Miami too, but I think Chargers make the most sense for Cam.
Yeah, I think he goes to the Chargers as well. But for me, there's two issues when it comes to Cam. Is A, he hasn't made the Russell Wilson move yet. He hasn't gone from a think first runner to being able to stand in the pocket like early on Russell Wilson has done and developed into a pocket type of guy with age, trying to avoid those hits. And then I think it's the football smarts that you kind of mentioned, Chucks, is not being as accurate, not being able to time up with certain receivers, and not being able to learn and progress his game that way. He's an undeniable great athlete, but I think he doesn't have the other side of the ball to be able to put everything together to where he doesn't fit many places because of that.
I mean, that's very well said, Kev. I mean, for me, as far as a destination, I definitely would think that he would want to try to go to a winning situation. But I mean, I know Chicago probably wishes that the Panthers would have did this last week before they traded for Nick Foles.
I'm sorry, man. I think he could win in Miami.
I just don't see Miami doing that though. As far as when they have the 5th pick, I mean, do you sign him and still draft Tua?
Maybe.
I would say this though, if I'm them, and if I'm Howie, and you've had good relationships with Miami before, I understand it was with Mike Tannenbaum, but if you want out of that 5 slot because if you want Cam, that's it. I will give you my 1, the swap, my 1 next year, and my 2 next year to get to 5.
Yeah,
I mean, at that point, if you're picking at 5? What value does Miami have if they have the quarterback for the next at least 2 years?
depends on how ready they think Tua is going to be. There's people who think it's going to take Tua 2 years to be ready to go.
Well, you sign Cam to a similar deal with what Rivers got.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
sticking with it, boys. The new dynasty of the East, Miami, baby.
Oh,
Not
God.
not a chance.
Jeez.
Listen, they build it from the defense. Now it's time to get that offense going. Let's roll.
Listen, to answer Eileen's
Ralph.
question.
No, Ralph. No, Ralph. Backup quarterback for the Eagles. No, Ralph.
Blabbering Ralphie again.
No, Ralph. Ralph is like, oh, it's a name I know. Let's sign him.
That's
No
always
matter
Ralph.
if we fucking need him or not. Let's just sign everybody.
Jeez.
Sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to cut you off. Ralph's stupidity popped up, and my Ralph dumbass alarm went off.
So for me, it kind of, as far as, your absurd comment about the Dolphins in the East, kind of leans
Not
right
that
into,
absurd.
Eileen's question. It is absurd. And I'm about to
not
take
that
you to
absurd.
school here, bro. Is the last time
Wait, you don't think
wait.
Miami can win this division?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, not even a week ago, you said you in the group chat put that Miami might win the division. You literally said Bro might be right. Now you're changing your mind? Come on,
I was still upset. That was that was like a week after not having Brady.
He's
Come on,
flip-flopping.
Godwin, let's
No,
hear what
not
you gotta say.
flip-flopping.
Tell me what changed your mind today. What's gonna change your mind tomorrow?
Well, nothing. First off,
Come on, hot
Miami
take,
will
Godwin.
always be a
Let's hear it.
dumpster fire. Miami's always going to be a dumpster fire. To me, people forget that this is not the first year the Patriots have not played with Brady. He missed all but one game in the 08-09 season. Yes, Miami did make the playoffs, unfortunately, and was at the front of the pack. But you had three teams in double-digit wins that year. So does Miami have a chance? Probably not. In my eyes, only because Belichick is still there. People keep forgetting
I
that.
don't fucking care if old Willie Belichick is still there or not, dude. It doesn't matter. Miami went out. They beefed up their defense. They got guys that can get to the quarterback. Shut up, Brodo. They got guys that can get to the
Brodo's right.
quarterback.
He gets it.
No, Miami went out.
Well,
they have a secondary now that matches up with anybody in the league. They went out and they got guys that are pass rushers that can get to the fucking quarterback. That's it. They're going to make it so that they're going to lead with the defense. If I go out and get a Cam, there's enough talent on the field. I think Jordan Howard was a nice pickup. They still have wide receiving talent there. I don't really see a major issue with them in that division, why they couldn't win that division. I thought last year
I see a major issue.
They're
still Belichick
to win one or two games. At some points, you fuckers sat there and said they may not win a game this year. They may be the worst team in the league. What did they do? They went out and won 6 games. They knocked your ass out of a first-round bye and sent you back in the next week. Tennessee.
We had 4 receivers, 2 being rookies.
Fitzmagic, baby. Fitzmagic, baby. And they did all that. They played better after they started tanking and getting rid of all their best talent. So you tell me why when they go out and they get a bunch of guys who can go out on the football field and play, a bunch of defenders who can go out there and rush the quarterback, and playmakers out there on the wide receiver or on the corner, why they couldn't make an impact in that division. I'm not saying they wouldn't any other division. That division stinks. It's not very good this year.
They couldn't even do well in the XFL, let alone the NFL. They will never win any division ever.
So sadly pathetic with how you have flip-flopped in the last 3 days.
Flip-flopper.
I will pull up the screenshot.
You is a flip-flopper.
Right the other day that Miami might win this division. I will pull it up and I will share it with the fam and the Real Talk.
Do it.
I mean, they went out and they went out and signed a bunch of Patriots, so might as well, but ain't gonna happen either way.
You hate the fact that they signed one of your favorite players off of your fucking football team.
That is true. That is a fact right there.
It's sour grapes over there is what that is. Don't you ever smite the name of Fitzmagic.
You mean Fitzpatrick?
Ooh.
No, it's Fitzmagic, buddy.
Fitzpatrick.
He sprinkled that fucking pixie dust on you last year, didn't he? He sent your quarterback packing for good.
On all 4 of our receivers.
Sent it packing for good. He's like, I got to get out of this shit. I'm going to Tampa Bay. I'm going to go hang out with Fitzmagic down a couple hours out of Orlando. Or I'm going to go down a couple hours from Miami and go hang out with him in Florida. Must be something in the water. So I got to get some of that Fitzmagic greatness in Florida, baby.
I got one even better for you. I would bet the beard again that
Bet the
Miami
beard
does
again.
not win.
I'll bet the beard. I will bet you that Miami will finish above New England and make the playoffs.
No,
Boys,
it was
boys.
win. You said win the division.
Why-
I
They
still
will
think
not
they'll
win the
win
division.
division.
Let's not do beard. You guys should go a whole head.
Fine by me,
Ooh.
because they're not winning the division.
And by the way, you've seen it already. I shaved my head for more than half my life. That's like
This is
not-
for more. This is more
I
for
see
Kev.
it.
I want to see his bald head.
No, it's already halfway there.
So they might as well just finish it off.
I think all of our high school picks we had shaved heads.
Yeah, I had
We
blonde
haven't
hair
seen
in
Kev's
high
yet.
school, so man,
They're not
that was
winning.
good.
Yeah, well, all right. So we got that Patriots talk done. I've had enough of Patriots talk. How about real quick? What do you guys think
I'll
of?
bet you're sick of hearing about Miami too. I mean, they beat the Eagles last year.
No, I like
Somebody here
Miami.
called it.
Whoa.
I like Miami.
Somebody here
Wait a
called
minute.
it.
I like Miami. I like what Miami's doing. But I want to get your real quick thoughts on Todd Gurley to Atlanta and his release from the Rams. Did you guys see it coming? Were you guys surprised? You think it's a good fit in Atlanta? He goes home to Georgia. So
I saw his release more clear than what I saw with Cam. So that I was more expected of Gurley's release, especially with the cap number that he had, and I'm happy for him going back to Georgia where he's from. He's already played some meaningful games in Athens. Now he gets to play in Atlanta. I like that. I think you may actually see them bring Devontae back because him and Devontae, they're kind of similar, but definitely could spell one another. If Devontae's healthy, but for Gurley, he definitely has something to prove. There now, he got paid, and like he said, he got fired on his day off. So I think it's a good fit. I'm not sure what to expect out of him anymore in the Falcons, because if I'm not mistaken, his situation is similar to what Jai had, right? There's nothing you could do about it. It's kind of arthritic. It's going to get worse. It won't get any better, correct?
I don't know 100%. All I know about the arthritis in his knees is that it could be good one day and bad the next. With Jai, I know it was was it the cartilage in his one knee where it was bone on bone, and so it wasn't so much that there was a risk of re-injuring it. It was just that at some point down the line, it was like a ticking time bomb. At some point down the line, it was gonna go, and once it went, it was done. So that was the thing with Ajayi, is that it was a ticking time bomb. But with Gurley, it's something you have to manage constantly, and you never know if it's going to flare up or if it's going to be okay. And that's what we've seen from Gurley ever since late last year. In 2018, that sometimes some games he looks good, and then other games like he's nowhere to be found. So with Gurley, it's a shame that the drop off with him and Freeman. I will say that him and Freeman and even Le'Veon Bell, it's tough for a running back now to get that second contract, and then those three guys who had that contract, and Melvin Gordon too, get paid less and not work out. It's going to make it even tougher for running backs to get that second contract when teams will just be like, why don't we just, after the rookie deal is done, let them go and then draft another rookie? So for a running back position, it's tough. But with Gurley, I don't see them bringing back Devontae, because I don't see why it would help to have two older running backs who are on the downside of their career on the team starting for you. I honestly believe they're going to go with a running back in like the second round, something like that. I forget where they pick, but I absolutely see them. And I would love to see them get someone who can be a complement to Gurley, someone like a Cam Akers or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, someone with a pass-catching repertoire who, will make a good duo with Gurley. But I think it's with the Falcons, they have pieces there that I like. It was more so just that the coach wasn't the fit, and so they got rid of him. And they have to just make sure they put it all together. The coach was the issue for so long. The offensive coordinator was so bad, but they have pieces. Don't be surprised if they do turn it around. But I do want to see what they can do with the running back position, and then filling some more holes on defense because they lost a couple people. So, but Falcons, I can understand the move for signing Gurley. They still need to sign a running back or draft a running back. Sorry.
Yeah, for me, I personally like Gurley going there. I think if it, I like that he's going to go to a place that could use him. I think it's going to be more of a stopgap, veteran passover type of deal. Just because of the knees, I don't think I think it's going to be a very short yardage, punching a touchdown, punt, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 type situations. I don't think it's going to be anything major. He's not going to be a 1 or 2. It's going to be a very, limited role for him. And especially with having dealt with something similar myself, what he has causes you to not be able to bend your legs, like at your knee. So for a running back that's got to put your foot in the dirt and, go straight on, it's not anything you can run outside and try to push through the pain. It's not something I ever see him, getting back into form for. I think that this is more of just a learning curve to, teach whoever they end up drafting either this year or next year, and coaching up into the role, that he would have had as a workhorse. I don't think it's necessarily anything as far as a player piece to move forward within that division for the Falcons.
Cool. What else, gentlemen? What else we got on the docket?
I guess I gotta look
Yannick.
at the criteria, right?
Yeah. So how do we feel about Yannick's over to Philly?
Oh God! Okay.
Are we
Here we
being
go.
trolled, or is he coming? Is he trolling us?
He's trolling us. He did the same thing in January to the Giants, where he posted a bunch of stuff Giants related. He's just trolling us. Like it's hard to see unless the Jaguars, like I said earlier, are willing to take draft capital for next year. It's hard to see us getting Yannick, honestly.
Well, did you see the report that it's not so much what they want as far as draft comp, it's what he's looking for his salary, because his agent and Clowney's agent is seeing who's going to blink first, and then the other one is whoever signs first. The one that's left over is going to base their contract off of that.
Thanks, Eileen. You have a good night.
Good night, Eileen.
Good night, Eileen.
Say bye to your KFC, Kev.
No, but Pete, I did hear that report. I was trying to find out who it was from to see how legitimate it is. I wouldn't be surprised, but you also got to consider money with the Eagles. If that's holding it up, that is a serious issue, because reports say that they didn't trade for Hopkins because they were in on those talks, but they ended up not trading for him because one, they would have given up too much draft capital. And, it's not like the Cardinals had a David Johnson that the Texans wanted. Now, you can argue, why would they want him, his contract and everything? Well, it's Bill O'Brien. He traded for Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson last year. What makes you think he wouldn't want David Johnson? So they were able to, the Cardinals were able to offer David Johnson and then those other picks. The Texans were reportedly asking for too much draft capital from the Eagles, and then the Eagles would have had to make a new contract for Hopkins, and that would have deterred their whole plan to change the defense if they did that. So if you look at that, I can absolutely see that finances are an issue in terms of trading for Yannick. I would love Yannick here, but only if it really makes sense. Again, after the Slay trade, we have to be careful about draft capital and not trading too much of our draft assets for this year. They're going to be very important to fill holes and fill needs on the roster.
No, I think too that's why Rasul Douglas is a trade chip, because it will cost. If there's a team that really wants him and there's an asset you can get from that piece or from that team, it's going to cost you less draft capital. I mean, he's still a young guy, so I think if they pull off, if there's any trades that they make at this point, I think Russell is going to be a part of that. Yeah,
I can see that. Definitely.
Absolutely.
What did you guys think of Nelson Aguilar's contract? Man,
talk about
barely got the league minimum, the veteran minimum.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
1
I
year.
mean, when
too,
you have
right?
2 cinder blocks for hands, what can you really expect? You can't even hold a
I
check.
know. Cinder blocks. I caught 9 passes in the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
You
I don't put that on
figured,
him.
you figured the Patriots may want him. You just said that Bill looks at players that kind of spurned him and makes me. It's like you can't beat him, join him, right?
If that was the case, then we would have gone after what's his name, Barnett, or whoever on defense that stopped Brady after throwing, for 500 yards.
Barnett.
Or
He's talking about Brandon Graham.
Brandon.
yeah, that's what I
Graham?
meant. Yeah, Graham.
Yeah.
That's what I
I
meant. That's your MVP.
I have been waiting for a year. Can somebody finally kiss my ass after the beating I took last year when I said that the Eagles should have traded Nelson Aguilar last year?
I know.
I agreed with you.
I'm agree. I didn't even wasn't even doing this show back then a year ago. I would agree with you.
I was destroyed last year when I said he fucking stinks, wasn't worth the money that we paid him, and he either should have been cut loose or traded. I mean destroyed.
Wow.
On this station. Not on just our show, on multiple shows for that. And I have never once had somebody say to me, "You were right, Chrome. They should have made that move." I want it now. The guy can barely get the veteran minimum. I want my pat on the back, boys.
All right, you get a pat on the back from me here. Since I was one of the ones that disagreed,
This guy.
I will give you a pat on the back. I'll give you.
I appreciate it.
I'll give you credit. You ended up being right.
You didn't kill me too bad.
Yeah, I just
you didn't kill me as bad as some of the others on this station.
Yeah, I know. I just going back to it, like it was a thing of he had come off of 2 straight years of around 800 yards receiving, and
Right.
we kind of
pedestrian for a first round draft pick.
No, I understand. I understand, and again, you ended up being right because he didn't pan out.
Thank you. Thank
but
you.
at the time, he was someone that we definitely needed for depth, and it was just like we didn't need the cap space, so I didn't see a need to. Again, I had stated that if there was a tantalizing offer, I would absolutely have traded Aguilar. And there was, remember, I found that report that Howie had declined. I think it was a 2nd round pick for Nelson because they felt like they would have needed him. And that's when I was like, I absolutely would have pulled the trigger on that. So I was with you. Like I was with you in the fact that it's not that Aguilar wasn't expendable. He was expendable. I just wanted the right offer for him. I didn't want him to let him go for beans. You know what I mean? So, but you ended
mean
up
like we did?
Huh?
You mean like we did?
Well, yeah, I mean he's gone now because like he had a horrible 2019. So that dropped his value. But at the time he came off of 800 yard receiving year. So, it's hindsight, but you were absolutely right. You were absolutely right about his upcoming year in 2019.
You guys remember that? You guys remember a guy by the name of Jordan Matthews who has better numbers with this team overall in his career than fucking Nelson Aguilar? Yet people shit on Jordan, and up until last year, we're still praising Nelson. Bunch of crumbs. Chase Zimnick wants to know, how do you feel about Zach Ertz turning down an extension?
I don't think it's that big a deal.
It's the process.
Yeah, it's the process.
Well, what I'm reading here now, it came from Mike Silver, courtesy NFL Network, said he turned down an extension that during the season that would have paid him more than what free agent tight end Austin Hooper signed this week to play for the Cleveland Browns, which is 4 years, $44 million.
Well, obviously, he should have gotten more than that. Getting more than Austin Hooper is a no-brainer. Like, what is Austin Hooper done better than Zach Ertz?
But that's my point exactly. So, but now Austin Hooper has the highest average per year out of all tight ends, more than Kelsey, more than Ertz, more than Kittle. We know Kittle's is coming.
Not for long.
But that's what I'm saying. So, but are we? So is it Ertz looking for? Are you ready to pay Ertz top tier one wide receiver money? I mean, because I think that's what he's looking for. He's looking for 12, 13, 14 million a year. Are we willing to pay that for a tight end?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that he goes out and makes a Jimmy Graham-esque move and says, I am a receiver. That's my main role within this team being on the Eagles. So I want receiver money, and I think that if you're willing to give a guy like Nelson 9, I think that for being the number one in this scenario, I think he's going to ask for that 13 range.
I think this is an important year for Dallas Goedert. It's going to determine a lot of factors. We're going to see how much of a factor in the offense and how frequently Dallas Goedert is used. We're going to see how the 2 tight end set works. I mean, really in the NFL, you don't see a lot of 2 tight end sets anymore. It's more of a luxury.
Yep.
I think that Pete was absolutely nuts for talking about trading Ertz now. Could I see it happening after this year? Absolutely. And I think it's more than likely that Zach Ertz will not be on this football team in the 2021 season. So I will, I think it's going to, unless we don't see enough progression from Dallas Goedert this year.
Right.
I think that the ball is in the future of Zach Ertz is in Dallas Goedert's court right now. The ball is in his hand. He will determine if the Philadelphia Eagles move forward where Goedert as the man, or if we have to make a decision now to re-up Ertz and figure out what to do with Goedert.
Now, the only caveat to that is if the Eagles get the sense that by him turning down that extension in the offseason, and I would say that I'm not against trading Ertz, but I'm also not giving away for peanuts. Like I would have to get, as Chuck said, a tantalizing offer to go ahead and move Ertz. So say for instance, you go to Jacksonville, you want to get in the top 10, and Jacksonville tells you, all right, you can get number 9. We want the pick swap and we want Ertz, and you get the 9th pick overall in this year's draft.
Nope.
I'll take the 9th alone I'll take the 9th for just Ertz. I won't give him the 1st round pick and Ertz for 9.
I agree with Chuck.
Yeah.
Well, I think don't they have 2 picks? So but I'm glad to hear. So that's what I'm saying. So like, it wasn't like I'm saying, okay, let's trade Ertz for OBJ straight up. It wasn't even anything like that. It was just trying to look towards the future, because I think the Eagles are looking at it like, okay, this is the premier talent, but like you stated, really the Ertz's future on the 2021 status on this team is in Goddard's hands, because I think the Eagles know, like, okay, well, we tried to extend him. He's already shown the interest that he wants to kind of see what the market is and what he can potentially get. We don't know what we have in Dallas yet, but my only caveat to that is, what can Dallas do to make the Eagles see that he is ready when Ertz is still going to be that guy? Because let's face it, he's the best route running tight end in the league. So I'm not sure, outside of Ertz just going down, if they're both on the field at the same time.
Dallas has got to stay healthy for one, because I don't think a lot of people know. I didn't even realize this. Dallas Goedert was hurt in training camp last year, and he didn't get fully healthy till halfway through the season. And that really put a hamper on the Eagles using those 2 tight end sets. And apparently, per Adam Kaplan, who's a great source, I'm going to say it again, the Eagles are really set on using 2 tight end sets. They want to be a heavy, like a primarily 2 tight end offense. So they've had that in plan. They've had that as their plan. But obviously 2018, Goddard's rookie year, he takes time to develop, and then this past year he was hurt. So they haven't been fully able to implement that. Now with this coming up in 2020, he's got to stay healthy and he's got to continue his development. The ceiling is sky high for him. We all agree that we're very high on him. I mean, Kevin wants him really bad in New England, and I agree with Chrome, who said from day one he sees more potential in Goedert than he ever saw in Ertz. So I'm with you on that, but Goedert has to just continue that developmental curve and stay healthy. The only thing I would say, like, I agree that I think if it were up to me, if Goedert shows out in 2020 and balls out, I wouldn't be opposed at all, and I would look into trading Ertz next year as he's coming up on the final year. And if a good deal comes to play, that one that really fits, I would absolutely be okay with trading him. However, if they really want to be a 2 tight end set, a 2 tight end offense, and they want Ertz and Goddard to be like the centerpieces of their offense and be on the field around like the same time or same amount of snaps, then I wouldn't also be opposed to them giving him a long-term contract so that he's here for a longer period if they can make it work financially. That's the other big thing because they have a lot of cap tied into veterans. And then remember, next year is when once his cap really balloons. His contract is going to balloon. So I do not know how that's possible. I don't know how he would make that work. I'm not a cap guy. I don't know how he's going to manipulate the cap. I know the cap is going to be higher next year with the new CBA and all that stuff. So I don't know, but I wouldn't be opposed to either option is what I'm saying.
Nobody on this football team not named Wentz, Johnson, or Cox is untouchable. So even as Zach Ertz, if you're telling me I can get the 9th pick for Zach Ertz this year, I think it's ridiculous to trade him. But if I get the 9th pick for him, absolutely I take that. I think they're fucking stupid for not taking a 2nd rounder last year for Nelson Aguilar. Because you take a trade, there are certain moves that are too good to be true. And sometimes you just have to make the move, make the tough decision, get away from the personal shit. And
Imagine if we had that 2nd round pick this year.
Oh my God.
My good Lord. Oh, that would have been so helpful.
So you look at it,
right.
You could have got a 2nd round pick for a guy that could barely get the veteran minimum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you need to make moves. If it's something that's too good to be true, you need to take advantage of that. So as crazy as you are for the constant Ertz talk of trade and this and that, you can tell me you weren't. You've been persistent on that shit.
I like to sell assets. I mean, that's it. I like assets that have value. And right now, outside of Ertz, Rasul Douglas is the only one that we have left.
Draft assets are one thing. What is the use of a draft asset if you don't get an actual good player?
Right.
So you already have an elite player in Ertz. It's going to take more than just questionable or reasonable draft assets. It's going to take like a no-brainer draft asset, like a top 10 pick to me for me to consider trading Ertz.
But that's what I'm saying. We know how he struggles with evaluating wide receivers. That's why I'm like, okay, if we get into 9, you can't go wrong really with any of these 3.
And Pete's focus when he leans into the camera. Go ahead, Kevin. What were you going to say?
See, so for me, part of Chuck's, what Chuck says, part of my reasoning behind Ertz staying with the Eagles is one of 2 things that's going to have to happen. Is either they are going to have to end up getting another piece to play with Goddard, because I as of right now, the way that they have used him with Ertz, he hasn't shown to me that he's a standalone piece. If you get rid of him, if you get rid of Ertz and trade out, that means that, okay, you do have you're going to have obviously a receiver out of the top, 11 picks, let's say, whoever you can get up to get for the value back in Ertz. But now that means that Goddard's going to have to be a number 1 tight end and pretty much by himself there. And that also means that you have no safety blanket. There's no, he can't do both. He can't protect that side and then chip off. That's why Ertz has been so valuable and overvalued to the Eagles in the role that he plays, is because he is pretty good at blocking as far as what else is out there in the league, which allows Goddard to come off and look good like a number 1, or he can play that safety blanket role when they don't have Goddard in the game, in those 2 tight end sets. To me, Goddard hasn't shown yet that he can do all of that on his own with a rookie in the lineup if they go out and get somebody. Can he? I believe so. But as of right now, there's no film to show that. It's just what he has done and the glimpses of it. When they put in a receiver over there with him or a running back out of the backfield to block on that side with him. That's the reason why I want him in New England, because we have a ton of 2nd and 3rd year tight ends to where he could be that number 1 and have somebody that's played a 2 role before behind him versus teaching somebody to be a 2 behind him and teaching him how to be a 1. So I think the latter of Ertz staying and getting paid is more likely to happen because of the value that he shows to the team.
Wow, I did not expect that wisdom from Kev.
I don't know if it's wisdom. He said a couple things, kind of like he said the overvalue what Ertz means to this team,
No,
I like that. That's true for this team and how this team is currently constructed. What we heard from Kaplan, how they want to do these 72 tight end sets, which makes me question why are we looking for speed at the wide receiver position if the coach is so dead set on having 2 tight ends? Like, what identity do we want to have on this offense?
Because you have to have speed on the outside to complement 2 tight end sets. Why would you have a bunch of slow wide receivers on the outside?
We had that already.
What?
I said we have that now. With the slow wide receivers is what I'm saying from last year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to get speed on the outside, right?
I hope we get it in the draft. Well, yeah, but everything what I'm saying, what I mean by that is not to diminish what you're stating. I agree, but what have they shown us to this point through free agency that they definitely are putting that emphasis on speed?
Well, here's for last year. This was a miscalculation by Howie. Last year he signed D-Jack, so there's one. And then he thought Aguilar would be the other element, and he was wrong. A lot of us were wrong because we seen that Aguilar in years prior could be a deep threat at times. You can't. 2017, 2018, he showed a vertical game, but for some reason, 2019, it fell off. So that was a miscalculation on his part. And then this year, he's trying to correct that by drafting speed. That's what his plan is, but he doesn't want to. And the reports have been, even Howie said it weeks ago in the press conference, he wants to go younger. So we can't really be surprised, even though we believe it's a bad move. We can't be surprised if he just goes into the draft with what we have and doesn't sign a free agent wide receiver. He wants to get younger, and it would shock me if he doesn't go speed with all his wide receivers, all the wide receivers he takes. That's why when guys bring up like Antonio Gandy Golden or Donovan Peoples-Jones or big wide receivers, it doesn't make sense to me for the Eagles. Could they be great fits elsewhere? Absolutely. A team like the Bills needs size of wide receiver, but with the Eagles they need speed. So if a wide receiver isn't a vertical threat or doesn't have explosive ability, then they're not. I don't see them being high on the Eagles draft board.
See, just real quick, as of now, just kind of came up. Even though the owners are asking to push back the draft, the NFL plans to proceed as scheduled in April for the NFL draft. So, just food for thought for now. We know the world is changing day by day, and that's obviously subject to change at any time. But it seems like they're pretty steady on pushing forward with the draft in April. So just something to keep in mind, boys.
Yep. And I know – go ahead. Sorry. My bad.
No, go ahead.
As far as the draft goes, I agree with Chuck. Says I think that they're going to go out and get their speed through the draft, because to answer your question, Pete, the reason why they haven't gone out and gotten that speed yet is easy. It's money. Speed costs money in this league, and they don't have it for the amount of holes that they've got on the team. So you could have gone out and signed Amari Cooper. You could have gone out and traded for what's his name out of the Texans. You could have gone out and got OBJ, but you got to pay all of those guys.
Yeah,
and you don't have the money to pay them and fill the defensive holes. Whereas you can go out and get easy, cheap speed and do what the league is moving towards and is undercutting, unfortunately, players at the veteran level that want the money, and go out and just build through the draft. And then that allows you and supports my sign Ertz in a year even more. If you're paying these young guys now on, rookie deals for 4 years, you can afford an Ertz extension for 2 years when it comes up, and keep that piece as long as you need.
I just think you want Goddard. That's why you keep pushing sign.
Oh, he does.
Well, that is very true. I do want him. I've been an advocate for him.
He's loved Goddard.
He has never shied away from wanting Goddard.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't. I know that we're coming up against it, but Brodo, our producer on the One Night Series, he did have trade scenarios that he wanted to give us and fly by us and get our opinion on. So, Brodo, I'm gonna give you the mic. What you got?
Thank you, Chuck, sir. I appreciate you. Can you hear me? Everyone coming through? Everyone
We
good?
hear you, Howie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it, Crow. Thank you. I am not asleep, by the way. Howie is indeed not asleep. So I have two crazy kind of off the wall trade scenarios for you guys. Both of them that obviously you could say, oh, you're playing Madden, all that, but they're fun. We talked about it earlier on the show this afternoon, and I figured I would get your opinions for it as well. The first one revolves all around, obviously we know the Yannick Ngakoue trade rumors are circulating, whether you want it or not, whether you think it's realistic or not. So that's kind of the border of it. And I figured, okay, well, defensive ends, defensive line, we can use another one maybe. But obviously what we really need is a wide receiver. So with the Jaguars kind of blowing it up, going full process Sixers mode to where they just want picks, that's all they want. I thought, okay, you go one better. You try to trade for Yannick Ngakoue and DJ Chark. My question is, A, do you want it? And B, what would you give up to get it?
Yes.
It's going to cost a lot to get it.
So speaking of, I would say yes. I want both. And to give up, I would probably – it's going to suck in saying this because now I'm going to sound like a flip-flopper, but I would try to throw in Goddard and a pick. So I would do it. If I could get Goddard and a pick to get them both, to get Chark and Ngakoue, I would do that because you're getting a younger player. I think who was in the same draft as Goddard.
Do that.
So
Kind of make your own decision for you.
2018.
Move forward with Zach Ertz.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So at that point, you got to go all in with Ertz at that point.
But Pete,
I would make that move, Pete. I'm with you.
keep in mind, the Jaguars are closing in on tight end Tyler Eifert.
So
No, I'm just saying.
he's always hurt.
You about to say you talking about someone who can't stay healthy. I mean, in his instance, it's really just been freak shit that happens to him. Like it's just crazy. I can't believe he's still playing a game of football.
Are we sure Eifert and Jordan Reed aren't the same guy? Like,
They
Didn't he like suffer a torn asshole after a fart at one point?
It was something. Yeah, it's like he gets the weirdest injuries, yo.
Oh my god. All right, so for Chark and
I'm
Yannick.
with Pete though. I like that.
Okay,
I'll throw in Rasul for the hell of it. There you go, buddy.
The Jaguars want picks. They want assets from what I've been hearing. I'm going to for Yannick, I've said next year's second and Barnett. So I want to build off of that. I will give them next year's second and Barnett, and I will give them oh man. I think I would
This year's third?
This year's third if they're gonna take it.
Okay.
This year's third. If they really are pushy, I'll give them this year's second if they really are pushing it. So 2 seconds and Barnett for was it Yannick and Chark, and then with my first pick, that's when I'm definitely trading back. Definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to recruit picks at that point.
Absolutely.
For me, I personally wouldn't. I think that only because I think it will cost too much. In the position they're in, I think they're already light as far as picks goes. You would have to package something up like this year's second and a third, and then next year's second and a third, because they do have a few thirds to throw out. For me, it's too much to give with what they've got to play with.
Frugal Kevin over here. Motherfucker,
That's because he wants Dallas.
Yeah.
Draft capital over here, Mr. Draft Capital. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I keep thinking about it. Every time you will never give up draft capital.
See, in the way the Patriot, you always get more. We trade out of the first, out of the second.
I
Give me
know.
all of your 7th round picks. I'll take them all.
I know.
And the second move I have, again, this is even crazier, but I'll just say there's whispers. There's whispers coming out of Carolina. Now that you look at, again, they're not in the same boat as the Jaguars. They're not going full tank, but they're kind of blowing it up, obviously, with the Panthers.
Retooling.
Quote unquote retooling. Yes. There's some whispers that they would be open for the correct move to trade one Christian McCaffrey.
I told you, Chucks. I told you.
I'll believe it
I
when
said
I
that-
see it.
So I'm not saying that it's likely, but my point is there are whispers coming out of Carolina that they would be willing to do it if they're blown away with a deal. My question is, fellas, what would you give up for Christian McCaffrey?
Ooh.
I mean, because you have to pay him soon. That changes things.
Not doing it.
If he was still like in this second year, like this is his second year going in, I probably would trade Sanders for him straight up. I'm not gonna lie. But since you have to pay him now,
Yeah.
no, it's not worth it.
If we didn't just draft Sanders, who looks like he has elite potential, like I would be more interested in trading for CMC, obviously. But we have Sanders. He's younger, several more years on his contract. I'm not doing it. I'm not trading for CMC.
See, I don't do it for either team, in New England or the Eagles for the same exact reasons. Is both teams don't value a guy like McCaffrey that can pretty much do it all. Both of them have all of their positional, scenario guys, like, how they've ran, Howard and Sanders and Boston Scott versus having, in New England, we had 5 running backs last year and a fullback. So when you're talking about a guy like Christian McCaffrey, he's your end-all, be-all. You need maybe one rookie back there, maybe one veteran like a Sproles to be a stopgap, very situational guy, but you don't have a committee that's already there. You would have to clear that locker room out in order to even make it make sense and, be worth it. But you're not going to bring him in if you already have a Sanders or in a Patriots scenario, a Sony Michel. So there's nothing that can even get done to use him.
Here's what I see.
Not only would I trade for him, but if I trade for him, I'll definitely trade Ertz then. I will definitely trade Ertz because you're going to have to pay one of them, right?
Yeah.
Well, Olsen's not there anymore.
So if I'm looking at that at
That's
this
true.
point, 2 tight ends is a luxury. 2 running backs at the caliber of Christian McCaffrey and Miles Sanders, that's game-changing right there. I'm looking at that right there. And I mean, obviously, like I said, I'm not good at figuring out the draft capital of what to give up. Maybe a second next year and a 4th this year, whatever the fuck they want. I don't know. I'd figure it out. But I will tell you right now, if I could get him, I would go out and get him, and then I would trade Zach Ertz. I would rather have Christian McCaffrey on this team and pay him and then let Ertz go.
It's so crazy that here I am. I'm like supposed to be like the running back fanatic here, but I'm the one that doesn't want to trade for a second running back. And here's why. Because I know the value of a running back, and I know that you can get a running back that has good talent to be your second guy at any point in the draft. Now, you do...
Yeah, but 2 tight ends in today's NFL is a luxury.
Yeah, but 2 tight ends... Yeah, but if you have 2 tight ends, it's a different dynamic than having 2 running backs. Now, when it's harder to get a tight end than it is to get a running back. That's just the truth. So when you have... Now, do you need a running back?
There's not a lot of Christian McCaffreys
Does
out
a
there, bro.
great running back help? Absolutely. But that's why we have Sanders. If you're going to get someone to be that second guy, you're going to trade even more assets to get a second running back. I wouldn't do that. You don't need 2 elite running backs. You could do well with 1 elite running back and then a second guy being a really good one.
I don't think
trade for a second
needs
one.
2 tight ends.
And people are saying like, oh, I see Tom here saying like, I won't even worry about wide receiver if I have Christian McCaffrey. But Christian McCaffrey is not a deep threat. Like he's not a vertical
But
threat.
he, but
He
he's
can
I
a
don't-
weapon
out
though.
of the backfield
I don't.
in the slot, but he's not like a deep.
He's the size of a tight end.
He doesn't
He could play
stretch
that
the
role.
field.
But you
You
don't.
still need a
You don't
wide
need-
receiver to take the top off.
You don't
the
need
defense.
2 tight ends here, and I can use Zach Ertz to position myself to go and get a wide receiver.
Right. So
Whether it's trade in the first round, get a
But-
first-round pick this year, what have you, you could set yourself up in other positions. 2 tight ends
Right.
is a major luxury in this league. Not
So-
a lot
so-
of teams run it. You don't
And-
need it to win.
And 2
I'd
running backs
rather have
is
2 running backs.
unnecessary.
And Christian
2
McCaffrey
running backs is
is
unnecessary.
elite. We're not talking about going out and getting some of these guys who are like second-level running backs. To me, Christian McCaffrey's top 2 or 3 running backs in this league. If I can go out and get him with Miles Sanders, I'd rather have that
Right.
than Zach Ertz with Dallas
So-
Goddard.
But realistically, do you
Especially
think
if I
that
could use Zach
do you
Ertz,
think
I'm
it's going to
positioning myself to go and get a wide receiver?
if they're willing to give up Christian McCaffrey, you really think it's only going to cost Zach Ertz, or it's only going to cost
no, listen.
I'm
third
not
round
saying
pick or
Zach
fourth
Ertz
round
is in
pick?
on that deal. I'm saying Zach Ertz can get you the draft capital back that you have to give up.
Yes. So if I don't have to trade Sanders, I would trade 21 for Christian McCaffrey straight up.
You would
And I would
trade
figure out.
So,
I would trade 21 for Christian McCaffrey straight up, and I would just figure it out because
Jesus
you
Christ.
because
Agreed.
CMC and Sanders, when you put them on the field together, I understand they technically play the label running back, but Christian McCaffrey's more than a running back. He's shown you 1,000 and 1,000 last year. I mean, I get it. I get it. There's a lot of moving parts that you would have to do after that. Like Chrome said, and maybe you have to look at that point trading Ertz, but having 2 weapons like Sanders and Christian McCaffrey, if you have the opportunity to go ahead and do so, that trumps having Ertz and Goddard. That trumps having 2 tight ends because that's mismatch problems regardless if you have a corner, if you have a linebacker, if you have a safety. It creates more mismatches than what you would have if you have 2 tight ends. I get it, but it's a very good problem to have. Better than having 2 tight ends.
You're thinking in the passing game, but the reason why the 2 tight ends is so dangerous in football and why Doug wants to do it is because it makes the defense. It's a mismatch for the defense because when you have 2 tight ends, you have to go to base package. You have to put heavier sets on defense. You have to add in a linebacker to match up for the second tight end if they run the ball. So once you have that, the defense has that second or third linebacker on the field, all of a sudden now they have to account for the passing game off of play action. And that's what you're talking about. That's why 2 tight end sets in a different dynamic. It is just as big of an issue for defenses as 2 running back sets. Now, when
but you don't need to run 2 running back sets.
I'm
with
going to
those
stick
guys.
to it. How many times have you found a really good running back late in the draft? I love the thought of having CMC and Miles Sanders together. That is a dream come true. That would be not fair. I get it, but at the same time, who's to say that if they don't have their way, if Goddard doesn't develop the way he's supposed to, and having Ertz and Goddard, and then a Sanders and then deep cuts on the outside, that doesn't make our offense just as scary or even scarier than if we had CMC and Sanders. Because that's just how Doug P works his offense. And you can get still a dangerous – if they want to get a dangerous second running back, there are running backs you can get in the 3rd or 4th round.
But you keep saying running back, he's a weapon.
not
He's not a running back.
But then you still have 2
How
tight
many
ends.
times did I sit here on this show and hear you talk about how Darren Sproles, you can line him up on the line and he can act as a wide receiver? You don't have to run necessarily like a 2-back set. You could put one of them on the line. You could be more creative with the offense, more deceptive with the offense. You don't have to just run the 2 tight ends like that or have 2 running backs in the back. I think it's a whole different dynamic. And no matter who you get in the 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th round, none of them are CMC. None of them are CMC.
But then you're also looking at
high,
you
unbelievably
have to maximize your personnel too. You have to maximize, think about, I get that CMC is an elite. CMC is an elite player. I get that. You're also talking about a running back. You're talking, oh my God, you're talking about a running back, guys. How many elite running backs have come drafted later on in the draft? And how many elite tight ends at a rate have come later on in the draft? Not as many. Running back is the easiest position to find answers for. It's an
Not
easy.
the way he plays it, though.
It's the
You
easy
got
position. So
We're
Chrome,
talking
you
like
got-
he's
you-
like
you guys
any- like
wait.
we're talking about
elite
he's
running
any
back
other running back.
in
He's not.
Sanders, then why would you? It doesn't make sense to give up a ton of assets for CMC. Now, if CMC was a free agent and we wouldn't have to give up assets or
You're
players,
in
that's another
a
thing. That's
position-
another argument. But if you're going to realistically trade stuff for CMC, you're going
One
to be
pick.
trading a lot of assets.
You're
A lot of
You're
assets.
not looking at the big picture of this.
I'm looking
Because
at the big picture.
In this scenario, this football team has other assets that can recoup the capital you trade away. We're going to have to pay
Yes.
Zach Ertz in a year, and we ain't paying him in a year. Zach Ertz is not going to be here in 2 years. I will promise you that. I will shave my fucking head, face, and balls on the air if Zach Ertz is on this football team.
I'll
in
take
2
that bet.
years.
You want to take
I'm
that bet?
telling you right now.
I don't think it's as guaranteed as you think.
And then turn around next year.
I don't think it's
trade
as
Zach
much
Ertz
of a
and
guarantee
get
as you
a
think.
first, second, or third round pick for him to get the capital back. You fucking do that.
Yeah,
Okay,
you-
well, I don't think it's as
Chrome-
guaranteed as long as you think.
Crow and Pete, I am now on your side of the fence. You guys have swayed me. And the thing that what gets me is if you only make the move to get McCaffrey and you have to give up if it's just straight up picks for McCaffrey, to me that's too much.
I
But
agree.
if you're saying that, hey, trade Ertz on the backside, recoup those picks, go get Moss in the 4th round, play that tight end off the line, in those later rounds, and use McCaffrey in, the 5-6 positions you can put him in, that's the way to go. I don't care about having 2 elite tight ends anymore. If I can go out and get maybe a veteran blocking tight end and let Goddard do his thing, and what the Patriots did this past year, and have rotational guys, stopgap, because McCaffrey is the size of a tight end who can play that side with the speed of a wide receiver, and he runs outside. He can take it up the middle. He can do a lot more than any tight end or receiver that's ever been in that type of situation. And
Kevin.
it's not something you can teach either. He grew into that. If you look at the film on his first couple of years in the league, he was not that big. He was not that fast or strong. You're not going to ever get that again.
Kevin, what did this football team win with in 2017? Zach
What
Ertz
with-
and a veteran blocking tight end, correct?
Correct.
But how many? We had 3 key running backs. But let's put it to you. Like this.
How much did you spend for them? How much did you spend for those running backs?
I'm almost to the point now, and if Brodo can chime in with these rumors, you can keep all of them. Just give me 21 for CMC straight up, and I figure it the hell out from there. I'm like, oh my goodness, 21 for Christian McCaffrey, because he's going to be better than anything you can get at 21. I understand the control, but if you're just looking at on-field talent, and I think he has a 5th-year option, he's under contract for the next 2 years. The league has already shown you what they value running backs at, so he knows he's not going to be looking at that big of a deal. But when you have somebody like Sanders you compare him with, it's going to be less on his load, so it's not going to cost you as much. And realistically, at 21, what can you do better than Christian McCaffrey?
Nothing.
Remains to be seen.
Oh no!
I just said that to piss you off.
Ah.
Here, I'll say this. All right, I
Let me-
will say this.
Let me
Okay,
just
I'll
ask this
real quick.
before you do
I'll
that.
say this
Go ahead.
real quick. If they will take if it's a straight player for player trade, Ertz for CMC, then I get it. I'll do it. See,
Okay.
Ertz for CMC straight up. I don't think that's all it would take, but I would be okay with that. I would absolutely be okay with that. You guys see, my whole argument is just that I wouldn't want to give up the farm for CMC. It has to be something reasonable because of the value of a running back and being able to find one in the draft, a good one in the draft. Not most likely you're not going to get one as talented as CMC. I get that. But if I'm going to have to trade the farm and trade a lot of assets to get him, that's when it becomes not worth it. Now, if you are going to tell me that they'll take Ertz straight up for him, something like that, where we already have Goddard, then okay. I will say then
But
Sure, I will take it. I will absolutely take it.
But what is the difference? What is the difference if we trade the 21st pick for him and then turn around and trade Zach Ertz and get a first or second round pick back? What's the difference?
If you're guaranteed,
right this second,
are you guaranteed? Yeah, but are we guaranteed that we'd be able to get? If you're guaranteeing me that it would be a first round pick for Ertz, then okay, then I would be okay with that. But I don't know. I don't know if we can get. I don't know for sure if we can get a first round pick for Ertz. But if you're telling me that's the offer, then I'll be okay with
pick for Ertz though.
So would you do 21 and Ertz for Christian and their 2?
Their second
round pick, yeah.
What pick is that? Do you know?
They sucked last year. It's up there somewhere.
I know. No, but if it's in within the top 10 of the second round, then sure, I'll do it.
Listen,
I'll do it.
I've said this a million times and I'll say it again. I don't care who's drafted at 21. We've seen plenty of guys go at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and be total busts. I will always take the sure thing, and it doesn't get any more sure than CMC.
So let me ask you this: if CMC was in this year's draft,
my 21st overall pick was Christian McCaffrey.
So
I'll take it.
Yeah,
if he was in this year's draft, would you put him above every other running back that's out there?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let me ask you this.
But wait. To be fair, when CMC was coming out, he wasn't as good as he is now. You have the luxury of a developed CMC who got stronger and got better at running inside the tackles, which was the biggest knock on him coming out of college.
And he's really just hitting his stride. He's just hitting his prime.
Absolutely.
So let me take that a step further to get to my point here. If he was in this year's draft, where do you think he would fall overall? In the top 10, I would assume.
Yeah.
If you put him at 10, let's say just in the top 10 for argument's sake at 10, what would you have to trade to get the 10th overall pick this year? 2 firsts. So if you tell me if I trade this year's 21 and next year's first to go get him, and then I can get the draft capital back on Ertz, I'll do that every day and twice on Sundays.
That's why I said
I don't even think you need to give up the second first though. And to be honest, I don't know if Ertz brings you back a first. To be honest, I think at best he brings you back a second.
Yeah,
second or third.
But I'm okay with that. If I've got him, I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, 21. I think 21. If that's legit, if Howie 21. For Christian McCaffrey, I believe that gets it done because we've already seen what the Patriots are doing. Hell, they just signed P.J. Walker back as their backup. I mean, Matt Rule is trying to build something there. So getting a second pick in the first round of this year's draft, I mean that's very enticing.
When I'm thinking about this off the bat, when I hear see they want to trade CMC. I'm thinking they're asking way more than just a first. I'm thinking they're asking for a first and get another day 2 pick and maybe another day 2 pick. That's what I'm thinking off the top of my head. So that's why I reacted the way I did. I'm just I'm not giving that up for CMC. But if it's just the 21st overall pick, then you guys have a point, and I would do it for the 21st overall. But it's just it's tricky because I just have a hard time believing that would do it. But I would hope I'm wrong. Pete, I hope you're right, and the 21st would be all they would want. But, just off the top of my head, I feel like it would cost more than the 21st pick.
In order to get, in my opinion, somebody who is a lock top 10 player in the league, in Christian McCaffrey, whether you agree or disagree with that or not, I'm trading a first, a third, and Sanders at least. And I'll go to bed happy. I'll be fine.
Wow.
I'll
now,
sleep like
the
a
Sanders
baby.
part is where you lost me.
Yeah, I feel like Sanders has the upside to be as good or near Christian McCaffrey, so I wouldn't include him in the deal.
And listen, I'm not if there's a way to give him, 4 years of picks instead of trading a player, absolutely. But if he was the make or break and you had to include him, I'm doing it because like you just said, Chucks, we think that, and we hope that Sanders will be something close to McCaffrey. I'm trading him for the actual thing. I'm trading him for the thing.
I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't. I get where you're coming from, but as someone who has believed in Sanders since before the draft and saw him as an elite prospect, I don't think he's going to get there. I really do believe he's going to get there. So that's why I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Now, we actually had a comment real quick on the Periscope side. They said, "What do you guys think about David Moore, speedy wide receiver, 25 years old, 7th-round pick, drafted by Seattle?" I mean, I would take a flyer on him if it's all that's left. I mean, probably come pretty cheap. It gives you some speed, you know. So, I mean, that's somebody we would take a look at.
Agreed.
If you guys really want speed, Flash Gordon's still out there.
Jesus Christ!
Stop it!
Stop it!
Stop!
Jesus Christ!
He can't get suspended now.
Jesus Christ!
Hey. Well, he might have other issues.
Yeah,
he doesn't know when to stop.
More than
That's the problem.
Antonio's out there too. Your boy.
Yeah, if you guys really want speed, it is out there. Just saying.
Taylor Gabriel, he's the best deep threat left. Free agency.
Right, I agree with you.
Should we do a quick
Flash Gordon is the best free agent still out
No,
there.
I said Taylor Gabriel, stupid.
I know you said Flash Gordon. I know you want him. That's all I'm saying. Is he's the best out there.
Jesus Christ.
Real quick, I think our Facebook just cut, but we'll do real quick.
It's been off for a while, yeah.
I
think we broke it.
I just want a quick response from you guys, just outside of football. Obviously they decided to postpone the Olympics until 2021.
Be right back, guys.
Yep. I clearly think it is the right move to make to do so with the uncertainty of everything going on. And I just kind of wanted to get you. I mean, I'm a huge Olympics fan.
Mm-hmm.
I watch summer and winter. I'm the guy who sets my DVR every day for 2 weeks to record like the 12 hours during the day. I don't need the nighttime replays. And like, I go back and I literally fast forward. Like I'll spend part of the day and then whatever I don't get to over the weekend, I'll fast forward what I, isn't as important, but I watch as much and everything as I possibly can. I'm from the fucking figure skating in the winter to I watch the swimming. I love the beach volleyball and swimming in the summer. I'm a huge Summer Olympics fan. That being said, postponement till next year. What do you guys think?
It was the right thing to do. We don't know where we're going to be at, but they couldn't try to keep having it this year. I felt, and to push it back a year is not for an event of that grandeur, of that size, with all the countries coming together. I think everyone would feel comfortable because I've heard this. I was listening to Mike Golick and Wingo yesterday, and they were talking to one of the Olympians, and they said we do everything in seasons, like how we prep. And to try to push it back to later on this year, that would just throw the performance off. So by pushing it back a whole full year, it kind of keeps everything in line. And it's enough time under these circumstances to where no one's going to question that. I mean, they were getting pushback for them trying to have it this year. So, and now they're getting commended. Well, they're getting applauded for pushing it back for 4 years. So, I mean, it was the right thing to do in that case.
And obviously, you had Canada saying that they weren't going to be sending people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I am happy that they're moving it back for two reasons. A, safety of everybody and timing of it being in the summer. You can't really push it back because of not only you don't know when it's going. This whole Corona thing's going to end, or if you could even have it if you're keep saying push it back. It's you might as well just make this switch over to have it next year anyway, sooner than later. And then for me, on top of it, it's the players, like the Olympics. There is no like big swimming events. There is no professional wrestling as far as like what's on the Olympic stage, like there is for a basketball or a baseball. Like this is their end all be all every 4 years to go out for these events. So to tell them, hey, you've been training, all the way up till now for this event, but you have to stop for, a month, 2 months and can't train and then go out and try to be your best when it comes, time for the summer and not put out your best effort. That's not fair to for the athletes as far as, in those specific events go. I mean, it's not like they have a replacement to the Olympics on on a global stage like that. So, I'd rather them have their moment in a year's time and be at the level that we expect an Olympian to perform at.
Yeah. I think the 1 year pushback is actually it's not that bad. Like, I agree with all the points you guys made, and a lot of Erica here says, a year pushback could mean really amazing performances with the extra training time. And it's true. I mean, it just makes perfect sense, with Canada, saying they wouldn't even go. It's too risky to try to still hold it. It wouldn't have been the product that you could have had it at. So to me, a year is not that bad. Like, you think about it, a year is not that bad of a turnaround time. If I were to kind of predict how long it would take, I'd say it's going to be like 2 or 3 years. Like, they would have had it coincide with the same year as the Winter Olympics, but pushing it back only a year is perfectly fine with me. I think it makes sense, and it's not that bad of a postponement.
And to kind of
go ahead.
To piggyback off of that, I know that Chrome had brought it up before on Thursdays with WrestleMania. If you move this back, you're talking about all different types of venue issues as well, with people coming in, travel, fans and the athletes traveling in. There's a lot of other things outside of just the event itself and the competition that goes around holding something like the Olympics. So I think pushing it back is best for not only the athletes but the cities that it's held in, and the all the vendors that go out there for it, and the planning as a whole versus just the competition as well.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'll even piggyback off of that. For me, what makes the Olympics so amazing and wonderful, it is the camaraderie. It's watching these athletes from different countries, interacting with athletes from other countries, hearing the stories about, these different countries and these athletes coming together. And, I feel like, if you were to try to force the issue this year, you're talking about, FAO, can you all see my comment? Yes, we can.
Sorry.
Clearly I could, because I was trying to read your name. What's going on? I feel like, much like everything else we've talked about, WrestleMania, NBA, NFL, NHL, everything's going to be affected this year. And, I feel like, even when we're talking about, they're saying that a year from now, they expect to be able to have a vaccine for this. That alone is a game changer for next year. That gives you the time to be able to, situate yourselves in terms of, being, if an outbreak like this was supposed to happen, with the same thing for next year. If this is going to be like a common thing now, where this is a flu we have to worry about. That's what I love about the Olympics just as much. It's the stories of the athletes interacting with athletes from other countries. It's everything that they went through. And honestly, I would hate to see even just the athletes and their stories to get there. Half of every story being about how, when they were training, we had to stop for the coronavirus. Like, I know we're going to hear about that next year, but it's one of those things I wanted to get back to be as normal as possible. I put the Olympics on such a standard that I'm happy that, I feel like if they hold that year back, we'll be able to keep that, the interaction with the fans and the people of their fellow countrymen and other countries. So,
yeah.
And it's going to be a symbol that it's bigger than sports. Like,
yes,
because of the time that we're in right now. I mean, like this football season, the very first football game that comes back with fan, like the very first sporting event that's going to have fans present is going to be such a monumental mark on this time in history. Like this is a historical time, boys, that we sit here and we talk to our grandkids, like, and they're reading about it in history, and they have to do a report, and they'll be able to sit there and talk to them like, hey, we lived that. We lived that. And I think for the Olympics, it's going to be the most important Olympics that we're going to have in some time, because the Olympics by itself is bigger than sports.
And they are in China,
general.
correct?
Japan.
Tokyo, right?
Tokyo.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're spot on with that, Pete. You know, it's going to be one of those things. And can you imagine, like, I could see them with the Olympics this year having to have no fans there.
Yeah, that's
Who the hell wants to see an Olympics that's that? Yeah.
Can't have that.
Um,
Real quick before we go. Oh, sorry. I didn't know you weren't done. My bad.
Last thing, and the positive is that year will probably fly by, and then it's one less year in between the summer and the winter.
Yeah, there you go.
So it sucks for the next year, but once I get there, I'm gonna be like, oh man, I don't have to wait that long for the winter. Only
exactly. Only like a few months apart. Yeah,
literally, like, well, it's like a year and a couple months. It's crazy.
Well, because no, I meant like because the Summer Olympics would be, you know, obviously in the summer, and then you got
2021, and then the winter is winter of 2022. So it'd be about a year and give or take 4 months ish apart, 3 months. Which again, usually there's the bigger gap between the summer to the winter.
Yeah.
So this will actually be the shortest, I believe, the shortest period of time in between summer and winter games at any point.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So I'm stoked for that.
Yeah. That's exciting. That's good. I just saw this real quick before we leave. I wanted to get your literally just quick input, just like a sentence. There was a report, someone posted, there was a report that the Eagles' outside starting cornerback spot opposite Slay is Avonte Maddox's job to win or lose. Do you agree and think that Maddox should start on the outside as is right now, like not taking into account that they could draft someone? Do you think Maddox is the right guy, or would you go for Sidney or put Mills there even as like a hybrid, or Rasul if it doesn't get traded? I think Maddox is the right guy because late in 2018 you saw him play very well toward the end of the year, and he was our best corner at that point. So I think you give him the opportunity to win the job, win or lose the job at first, and then you go from there.
I'll keep it simple. On agree to disagree radio, I agree.
I think it's his job to win or lose it, but I think ultimately he'll lose it. I think you're going to get the best Sidney Jones you've seen. I think you get the kid from Washington this year.
Let's hope.
I'm
not going to bet on it, but let's hope.
Years have we been saying that?
I know.
Well, I mean, I think this is the last year of his deal too. So trust me, he wants to get paid.
I'm not saying it anymore. At this point, just show it to me. That's it.
Yeah.
I like Maddox out there. I think that he wins the job. To me, it's been too much of Jones to show me that he hasn't. So, if I had to put money on it, I would lean with what he's already done and where Jones doesn't show you anything different. So,
perfect.
Anything else for the cause, gentlemen, before we hop off of YouTube?
You're good.
Nah.
Good show.
Good show, boys.
I like the end of the show more than I like the beginning.
What'd you say?
I like the end of the show more than I like the beginning of it.
It was like mommy and daddy were fighting.
Mary texted me during the debate, and she was like, it's getting so uncomfortable hearing you guys debate.
Oh, sorry, Mary.
I'm not sorry that I yelled at Chucks.
It was great. We haven't had a yelling match in a while.
It has been a while. I remember. I deliver, Mary. Remember, I deliver.
Oh my Lord.
Girl delivers.
Guys, great show. Thank you to our sponsors, our doctor at Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Vidal in Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton, New Jersey. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Ambuck Services, Ambuck Gutter Services. You can find them at Ambuck. Brodo, what is it? AmbuckServices.com?
Yes.
Gutter cleaning,
gutter cleaning, decks,
tree trimming, anything. James Flames 247 says, "Stay safe. You as well, my friend." And obviously QB54. Check them out. I'm telling you guys, this game's awesome. Great time. Honestly, right now we're looking for stuff to do. So this is a perfect time to pick up this game. Check them out on the web, QB54.com, playqb54.com, and pick it up and enjoy it. And there is a promo code for A2D. Get you what? 20% off?
20%.
off. 20%
For no
off.
notes. Use no notes. Get you 20% off, guys. So do it on A2D. I'm terrible at this read stuff. I don't know why I continue to do it. I've never done this. I don't think ever properly. But for us, we have the fix tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
6 to 8.
We also have
The
AM in the PM. And for us, Mr. Pete, you're joining me.
Thursday.
We're going to have and Mr. Brodo will be joining for the lazy booking / in this very ring WrestleMania round table. Is that this week or next week?
I'm not sure, sir. That's your show. I
gotta
just
figure it
show
out.
up when you. I just show up when you.
Can you tell me when I go on, please?
Brodo, when is it?
Week.
This week, right?
Yeah, they're taping on what? They're taping tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're doing it this week, right? We're doing it in case any spoilers come out. And we talk.
It's your show.
I don't know, guys.
Hey.
I don't know. I don't follow these things.
Before we
So-
leave, Christian McCaffrey's better than Brian Westbrook. I'll just leave it with that.
Oh, Jesus God.
Agreed. But
I'm
listen,
not biting that. I'm not taking that bait.
I do just want to say too, for the lazy booking and in this very ring round table, we do have a special guest joining us as well. For any
Really?
long time lazy booking followers, so that'll be fun. But for Chucks, for Pete, for Kevin, for Howie in the middle, this is Chrome. We appreciate you guys here on A2D Radio. This is where you have a voice. Continue to follow all of our shows. We're here for you through this pandemic. We're not going anywhere. Come and be entertained with us, by us. We love you. For all of us, have a great
Love you guys.
Peace.